Savarano, Normasarana Sadam, Vedyam Vastavamatravastu Shivadam, Apatrayo Mulam, Srimad Bhagavate Mahamunivate, Himalaya Ishvara Satyo Bhagavadgave Prakriti, Shishroshumi Tavarsham, Nigamaganpadaro Kredam Phalam, Shugamabhadam Gadram Samyudam, Ivada Bhagavadam Rasamayam, Guraho Rasya Bhuvibhavukam, Sachidananda Rupaya, Vishwodavadhyadhivekari, Tapatraya Vinasaya, Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namah. Yam Purvajandam, Ayurveda Veda Kratyam, Vipayano Virakakatanajjuha, Putrediram Mayayataro Vinedu, Tam Sarvabhutagayam Vimanadosmi, Yasvanubhavamahila Shubhisaramegam, Adhyavadivamadideshadam Tamondam, Samsarinam Karunayapa Purana Guhyam, Tam Vyasasuyam Upayami Gurum Muneinam, Narayanam Namasritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudiraye, Kamaniya Kishoram Uddhamurte, Kalavelu Kudigamudanamendo, Mamalaji Visundharamurare, Mandirina Kanika Vika Vikavi, Mama Om Vishwambaraya, Krishna Prasaya Gurugare, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nivinamini, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharini, Navishesha Shuddhyavadi, Paschatya Veshakari, Shri Gurujanaramidabhyam Namah, Vande Nandam Rajasrinam, Padarenu Abhishasha, Yasam Harigalokilam, Gunani Voratrayam, Gopi Charanaravinda Paramane Namah, Pilambaram Karavirajita Chandrashakham, Kavodaki Sarsijam Karnasamudram, Rasa Sahayam Visundaram Davasam, Padalayeshamesham Sudhivavayami, Om Pujayam Vedam, Sharoyam Kumaraka, Vedavedhyaram Brahma, Vasadam Puradoma, Mukam Karodi Vacharam, Pagum Lankayadevim, Yadruvatamam Vande Paramanandamaham, Shri Krishnaya Srimad Bhaja Govindam Sankirtanam Govinda Govinda. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamade, Samprate Sandhige Kare, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukhanvikarane, Mudhadehi Dhanagama Krishnam, Ulusat Buddhim Hasi Krishnam, Yallakase Chakarmo Bhatam, Vittam Yena Vinodaya Vittam, Nari Sarvadanahi Desham, Drashta Mahamohavesham, Evanam Svasadi-karam, Manasi Chindaya-varam Bharam. We were discussing Bhaja Govindam prayers last Sunday, and Acharya Swami mentions there that the first thing he talked about was the Shastra Vasana, attachment to Shastra in the wrong way. To think that Shastra will simply studying Shastra for the sake of studying Shastra without any further understanding of the realization of the truth, not being serious about self-realization in other words. Then he spoke about, secondly, about acquiring wealth in this world. He warns and cautions us that Vittam Nena Vinodaya Chittam. That attachment to wealth, to king, Hiteshana, as it is called in the Shastram, people get attached to acquiring wealth in this world in a very strong way and make that as the goal of life. He wants that, that will also not be very helpful for spiritual life. Thirdly, he spoke about an attachment to the body, man to the woman and woman to the man, both equally damaging as far as spiritual life is concerned. So it was in that he mentions in the words he mentions there that by constantly analyzing this in a particular way as he has spoken, Acharya Swami mentions there, Krishna talks about that in the Ekadasha Skandha in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the same thing. Attachment to the flesh, to the body and material sense enjoyment. Krishna mentions in many places in the Bhagavatam. Above all, he brings the story of King Pururavas in the name of Aila in the Bhagavatam, which is known as Aila. In Bhagavatam there are 4 Gitas in the Ekadasha Skandam. Dattatreya Gita, Hamsa Gita, Aila Gita and Diksha Gita. So Aila Gita is only referring to this particular thing, that attachment to material body. Why bodily sense enjoyment is so strongly spoken against? Reason for that is, when attachment to the body develops, it develops in a particular way. Identification with the body gets very strong now. That is the reason why they are so strongly against attachment to the opposite sex. For the man, the woman, and for the woman, the man. Attachment to body means it becomes bodily identification gets very strong inside. And then it becomes very difficult to break it away from inside. Bodily identification is like that. It is in a very subtle level happens, bodily attachment. And that brings very strong bodily identification. And the result of that is later on, no matter how many times we hear that I am not this body, it will not work. Still the mind attachment will go towards the body. That is the reason they mention so strongly against this relationship between man and woman. Not only that, but also it has to be understood in a particular way. For example, when you know that bodily attachment eventually leads into distress in some form or the other, either through disease or through separation, in various ways it can happen. And if you want things like that, then naturally the mind will not go in that direction if you see the distress involved in that. That is the reason why it's said like that. To find out what is the distress that's going to happen after that. And knowing very well that it is distress and temporary, once we understand in that way, and we will get careful about it, not to get absorbed in that way. And that is the reason why it is mentioned like that. Because anything what is spoken, for example, people don't want to think about death, isn't it? Why do they don't want to think about death? Because we have fear of death. Therefore, similarly about the diseases, various diseases, cancer or any other kind of diseases, when they come, we will feel frightened about that. If it happens to me, what will be the situation? That fear inside. So as much as you know that when you see the distress that it is going to create in life, then you will be fearful about that and the mind will not go in that direction. That's the only way to withdraw the mind from that. So once the mind knows mind knows about the problem that it's going to create, then the mind will withdraw from that and go back and settle down in its own place. Once, in one instance, what a great Mahatma's ashram, there were people were coming and to asking him about this interesting question. Their question was, how will the mind will come inside and stay without going wandering around in the world? Because mind is the most difficult thing to control, isn't it? So, he did not answer that question. Instead, what he said at that time was that in the ashram there was various animals and birds, other things were coming closer to him. And he had a great affection for the cats and the cows and the squirrels which were in the ashram. And he found that, as an example, he told them that the squirrel had many baby squirrels and wandering around in the room all over. And these baby squirrels were not frightened about the cat. So he was bringing the squirrels back and putting them back into the cage where the babies were born. But they will try to jump out and go wandering around everywhere. And he also noticed that if these babies had the fear of the cat, they would not go out freely like this, only because of the fear. When he brings one and put it inside, the other will run out from inside. So this was happening quite often. So what he did was he brought them all together and put them in the cage and closed them. And he said to this devotee who asked this question about the mind, he said, it's like the squirrel. When the babies realize that there is death outside waiting in the form of cat is going to bite them and eat them. When they are fearful of that, they stop going outside, they came inside and sat there. Similarly, the mind also has the very same nature. If the mind goes out in the world and if it knows that there is danger and distress in many things, the mind will not go in that direction anymore. That's the only way you can warn the mind. Mind has to get that serious warning from inside that such and such an enjoyment or anything in this world will bring distress to us later. So once you know about that, the mind will withdraw from such objects. That is the idea behind it. So he was mentioning there, in a similar way, once we get a lot of distress in this world and various problems here, then naturally Vairagyam will come from that. Vairagyam will come from that. That's the only way Vairagyam renunciation will happen inside. And in order to bring that mind inward looking, and for that Vairagyam has to be practiced. You will notice this, one who practices Vairagyam, he will have a more inward looking nature in life. So similarly, whichever objects where we find attraction, their mind will lose its grip on that and it will start coming back inwards looking. Dosha Dushtya Moho Moho. The Sudhamani mentions like this. Dosha Drishti. Dosha Drishti means seeing the danger and distress in the various objects and withdrawing from that. Again and again practicing that. Dosha Drishtya Moho Moho, it says. Sometimes people get absorbed their senses in sense enjoyment to such degree that eventually they get completely destroyed in that process. So when one knows that, as far as Krishna is concerned, or the Shastra is concerned, Krishna has given a certain amount of energy in life, and that energy is meant to be directed for self-realization, to realize what we are. Instead of doing that, if that energy is distributed in various sense enjoyment, then our Shraddha for the sake of self-realization will be very limited. Our potential power will be very, very limited. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, wherever mind wants an engagement, although because mind needs some engagement, therefore various sadhana processes, Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam, and the different sadhana processes, if one cultivates bhakti inside, then even once that taste has developed, then even if one wants to go for sense gratification, it won't happen. Because the mind will give the strong warning from inside. So developing the taste is more important. Once the taste has developed, then mind will not go in the wrong directions, and it will not be anymore any attraction for him. So any objects outside, if the attraction goes away, that is what Krishna also saying. Once you find Govinda, Krishna, in the heart, Gopis mentioned this, isn't it? Itara raga vismaranam nranam adhara viranaste adharamrutam. In the Gopika Gita you will see this verse. That they are saying that Itara raga vismaranam nranam, after they have got this relationship with Krishna, all their attraction for other sense activity, sense gratification has gone away. They are saying this. Gopis are saying this in the Bhagavatam. If you look in the 31 chapter, verse 30, in the 10th canto, you will see Itararaga Vismaranam Vnam Adhara Viranaste Adharamvatam. It is in the 31, chapter 31. Suradavardhanam shoganashanam Suridavayuna sushtuchumbidam Itararaga vismaranam Vidaraviranaste atharamudam. They are saying that Idaravira vismaranam nam, that attraction for all other ragam. Raga means attachment. Vidaravira smaranam nam atharaste atharamudam. So, Idara raga means all other attraction, for other sense of gratification. Vismaranam, we have forgotten that completely. Once they got attracted to Krishna. That is what mentions there. So, there we have seen here, gopis are saying that they did not give it up. What has happened to them? They natural way, it left them. Natural way, it left them. That's what has happened. Itararaga vismaranam nam atharavinaste atharamudam. They did not give it up, but in a natural way, all attraction for sense enjoyment left them. That is why in the Srimad Bhagavatam we will find that in many places, Srila Brahmashi says here, that if you develop somehow attachment for Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam and other processes of Krishna consciousness, in a natural way of attraction for the world will go, other sense enjoyment also, and the mind will look for happiness within. It will get what it wants from the Krishna conscious activities. Krishna conscious activity. So, here we have seen here two things spoken. First one is the money, attraction, and second one is the desire for sense enjoyment. So, both of them that are holding us very strongly to the material body, isn't it? Material body. That the attraction for the money and similarly for attraction for the men to women and women to the man. Both of these things, if these two things are broken, then it is only for that purpose. If you see the Vedic sacrifices, they have instituted what is known as yajna. Yajna means sacrifice, isn't it? And sacrifices do cost a lot of money. Any sacrifice it is very expensive. There are so many mentions in the Bhagavatam, and if you look into the Karmakandam section of the Vedas, it talks about a number of sacrifices. Adiratram, Agnishtomam, Vajaveyam, and go on, Rajasuyam, Ashwamedam, like that. There are many sacrifices mentioned in the Vedic literature. Why so many sacrifices? So that the money that you have acquired is used in the sacrifice and get it off from the reserves of that wealth. That means acquired wealth in any way, particularly in the olden days, what the kings used to do when they make a lot of money, because during their certain reasons the treasury will become very rich in some way or the other. Not only from the taxation but from various other means also. And when they have a lot of wealth, they will not keep it there. They will spend it straight away through these sacrifices. That is why you see there, Yudhishthira Maharaj performed the Rajasuyam, isn't it? And similarly, Prithu Maharaj performed Ashwamedham. Mahabali performed Ashwamedham. How many? 99 Ashwamedham sacrifices was performed by Prithu. Only during the 100th Ashwamedha sacrifice, Indra came and wanted to stop it. So, when they had a lot of wealth, the principle was, you don't keep them, you spend it straight away for sacrifices. That is how all these sacrifices were performed. It was always that was the principle. Kings will never keep a lot of wealth. Holding the money was not their principle because they know the damage it's going to create with the wealth. First thing, inviting enemies. Secondly, also, this money is not meant for their sense enjoyment, therefore used in the sacrifices. So, what they will do, they will perform some sacrifices and all the extra wealth, they will go and spend it out in their sacrifices. You can read particularly the Rajasuyam which Yudhishthira Maharaj performed, which lasted 17 months and 17 days. And Yudhishthira Maharaj didn't have enough money. And Krishna told Yudhishthira Maharaj where to get the money from. And they had to send, the 5 brothers had to go, 4 brothers went in 4 directions and they won over the king. and they managed to get money from various kings who ruled at that time, plus extra gold and other things they brought from the Himalayas, where there was a lot of wealth lying somewhere. So that is the principle, that money should not be kept, it should be spent. It should be spent. And similarly, in order that the money is not abused, should not cause problems tomorrow, therefore the outlet for that is performing sacrifices. Similarly, the lust inside us, in the man and the woman, in order to keep that under control, marriage is recommended. Marriage is recommended. It's an outlet through which the kama or the desire is exhausted in that way. And otherwise, marriage is not required. Marriage is not required. Interesting thing is, there is no mantra for referring to marriage in the Vedam. There is nowhere mentioned about any mantra referring to marriage in the Vedam. Abhinava Vidyadharkapal, the Sringeri Acharya, once this question came up in front of him, somebody asked him, what is spoken about marriage in the Vedam? He was such a learned scholar in the Vedic literature. And he mentions there that Vedas have never told anybody that you have to get married. Vedas have not even spoken about that, you have to get married. But then what is the marriage for? In order to that our pure identity is realized state, self-realized state. That is our identity. But the things that is causing problems for us in self-realization are things like money, sense enjoyment, particularly sense gratification, sex life, all other things related to that. So, in order to bring that desire for sense enjoyment, to bring it under control, Shastra says there that Smriti, Shruti doesn't say this, Smriti says, brought this system of marriage. That's how marriage has come into existence. In the original Shruti, in the Vedam, there is no reference to marriage at all. Vidyadharka mentions this. That was his conclusion. He says that marriage is not an issue discussed in the Vedam. What is spoken in the Smriti is, in order that to keep our desire for enjoyment with the body, so that it is kept in a regulated way, marriage has been spoken. Marriage has been instituted. That was the only reason behind it. Otherwise, in reality, what Vedas are telling us, marriage is not the important thing, self-realization is more important. What has happened now, marriage is more important, self-realization is not important. Such layman scholars now everywhere. They are using the Vedas and telling us, people are saying this, they use the Vedas and tell us that marriage is the most important thing because it's mentioned in the Vedas. It is not mentioned in the Vedas anywhere. So much ignorance about all these things. Shruti never spoke about marriage. Smriti says, why? Because of it's in the Bhagavatam also, you can see in 11th canto we spoke about that. That just like people who have desire for alcohol or drink intoxication, for them, because they can't stop it, they find it difficult. Smriti is saying they have instituted sacrifices where you can offer alcohol and take it as prasadam. So that some regulation happens. You don't get completely pulled by bringing some restrictions. Equally for meat eating, so those who want to eat meat, for them again sacrifices is the option for that. So that way to bring some control on their tongue. The desire for eating other things which are not recommended for human consumption. Similarly, marriage also, in order that those who cannot control their senses and if it is becoming a problem for self-realization or spiritual advancement, therefore, Shastra Smriti says that you may get married and live with husband and wife, and that relationship, that because this sex desire, it cannot be controlled by any sadhana. It cannot control by any sadhana or regulation. Therefore, it can only happen when it happens in this way, that through this relationship, all other desires also. Lust, anger, greed and other things. And we, although we speak badly about them, we have various emotions, isn't it? Lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, ego, and so many things it's mentioned in the Puranas about our weaknesses. So all these weaknesses, all they are inside us. So, but actually, strictly speaking, these emotions are, Shastra is concerned, there is only one emotion within us, that is bhakti. When that bhakti comes out in distorted form, that is what all these emotions are. Bhakti is the pure emotion what everybody has. Bhakti is our nature. Bhakti is the emotion from the soul that comes out. That priyam or bhakti. And that bhakti comes distorted in this, and everybody has bhakti within. People have bhakti inside. But because we don't find that bhakti, how to develop that bhakti inside, and we are actually inquiring after bhakti. We are actually inquiring after bhakti in every object. In every object. For example, we have attachment for different objects in this world. And what we are trying to find out, can I develop bhakti towards that object? Bhakti, desire for bhakti is there in everybody. Bhakti means what? Everyone is searching after their own swarupam, isn't it? Their own swarupam, that is bhakti. So swarupanam anusandhanam bhakti nitya vidiyate. That is the definition of bhakti. So swarupam, when you are trying to inquiring about your own swarupam or your own identity, what you are, that swarupam when you are inquiring, so swarupam anusandhanam, when you are pursuing that, bhakti nitya vidiyate, that is bhakti. So that is what we all are looking for. But what is normally happens is, in fact, to tell the truth, that a thief is stealing or somebody else is murdering somebody, all these things is all the distorted form of that bhakti. Bhakti is there in him also, but that independence or freedom from that, and he wants that bhakti, but bhakti is not developing inside. In all these distorted forms it comes out. So, and what we do normally, we speak strongly against these bad things, isn't it? Lust, anger, greed and all other things. So when that emotion settles down and it becomes purified, it will turn into bhakti. It will turn to bhakti. And bhakti is not separately as an emotion. Like lust, anger, greed and all that, bhakti is not a separate emotion. Because you can see, how do we know that it is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Bhagavatam mentions this. Bhagavatam says that you may have any emotions within us, lust or anger or hate or fear or whatever it may be. But if it is turned towards Krishna, it ends up as bhakti at the end. You know that. In the 7th canto, if you look, what does Krishna, Sukadeva Goswami mentions there, you can see there. Any emotions, whatever we have, if it turns towards Krishna, the first chapter in the 7th canto. If you look into verse 29, first chapter, 28, 29, yes. Kamal, dveshal, bhayal, snehal, yatha bhakteshware mana, avesha tatakham hitva, bhaval stadgadim gadaha. In the verse 28 he mentions that evam krishne bhagavati mayamanidam ishware vairena putrapapmanam stamaduram chindaya. He mentions there that evam krishne bhagavati mayamanidam ishware, that when attraction forms, this was spoken by Sri Narada Maharshi. This is a conversation between Narada Maharshi and Yudhishthira Maharaj, where in the Rajasuyam sacrifice. In Rajasuyam what happened was, when Shishubala was given, Shishubala hated Krishna. You know, Shishupala hated Krishna so strongly. So, but ultimately Krishna killed Shishupala and Shishupala got liberated. And Rajasuyan sacrifice, Yudhishthira Maharaj saw this. Yudhishthira asked Narada Maharshi, I am offering everything to Krishna and I am so attached to Krishna and serving him in all ways possible. But at the end, what is my fate? And Shishupala, what has he done? Throughout life, all he has done is abuse Krishna. As and when he got an opportunity. He abused Krishna all the time. And he has gone back to Krishna and I am still here. I do not understand this, why it is like that. At that time, Narada Maharshi had to explain to him what bhakti means. Bhakti, every emotion what we have. Shishupala's emotion was he hated Krishna. Like Kamsa had terrible fear of Krishna, isn't it? And gopis had a lusty relationship with Krishna. Three different emotions. Gopya Kama, gopis had a lusty relationship. Gopis didn't know any knowledge of the Shastra. They so attracted by the beauty of Krishna, they fell in love with Krishna and they were after Krishna after that. It is much later, Krishna purified them and gave them the transcendental knowledge and brought them to the highly elevated state of the great pure devotees. That happened much later. But initially the relationship started in this way, with the gopis and Krishna. Similarly, Shishupala had no knowledge of Krishna. All he knew was how to hate Krishna. That he knew well, and he did that well. So throughout Rajasuyam, Shishupala hated and spoke, always criticized Krishna. As soon as he opens the mouth, he will talk against Krishna. And similarly, you can also see our Shishupala, Kamsa, another example. Remember when he knew that, when he started experiencing that Kamsa came to know that Krishna is going to kill him, from that moment onwards, Kamsa could not sleep, isn't it? Asinam, Payanasdishtam, Punjanam, all mentions there. That he couldn't sit on a chair, he couldn't sit on a chair, and he could not, while walking he will turn back if Krishna is behind. And all instances there was fear in Kamsa's mind. That fear grew up and grew very, very strong in Kamsa's mind. So that is what has happened with Kamsa. And Shishupala's case, what has happened? Shishupala was continuously abusing Krishna. Now, Srinarada Maharshi is telling us all that is bhakti. It is very interesting, isn't it? All that is bhakti, he says here. Because he says, Evam Krishne Bhagavati Mayavani Ishware Vairena Udava Stamavu Anichindaya. Because it was directed toward Krishna, even though it was very inimical, they got purified. So what it means is that all these emotions, what we condemn and criticize in this world, we consider all these things as bad, which means vairam, enmity, and lust, anger, greed, or any such thing. If it is directed towards Krishna, it becomes bhakti. In fact, in reality, there is only bhakti in this world. These are all the distorted forms of that bhakti, what we are seeing in this world. It's all the distorted form of bhakti. When bhakti gets transformed into other emotions like this, they are not real. Actually, inside everyone, there is a genuine desire for realizing the self. But because there is no knowledge in the proper way, and completely driven by the modes of material nature, they get pulled by it. And the modes of nature controls everything. That is what modes of nature does to anybody. So here you can see that when different emotions these different people had, when it was directed towards Krishna, it turns into bhakti. Gopya Kaman, verse 30. Gopya Kaman Bhayal Kamso Deshyo Dvesha Chaityadayo Krupaham Sambandhan Krishnaya Snehan Yuyam Bhaktya Vayam Vibho. Srinarada Maharshi is saying to Yudhishthira Maharaj, gopis have come to Krishna out of Kama. Gopya Kama, that's why they came to Krishna. Then Bhayal Kamso. Kamsa started thinking about Krishna through fear. And that fear developed so strongly, what happened at the end? Bhayal Kamsa. Kamsa became the cause of the fear to such an extent that Krishna has taken the cause of the fear to such an extent that Kamsa eventually became so Krishna conscious. He became Krishna conscious through fear. Practically, Kamsa had bhakti, but that bhakti was in the form of fear up to that point. Later on, when Krishna took him, sent him to the spiritual world, isn't it? So, any emotions, doesn't matter what it is, it's all a distorted form of bhakti. What in reality exists is only bhakti. In every living entity, there is only bhakti. Bhakti is its pure form. Then, Dvesha Chaityaudaya Mrava. Chedi, the kingdom of Chedi, Shishupala was the prince from there. And his relationship with Krishna was Dvesha. Dvesha means hate. Hate towards Krishna. So that hate also eventually ended up in bhakti. And then Srinara Maharshi says there, Sambandhal Krishnaya Sneham Yuyam Bhaktya Vayam Vibho. Sambandhal Krishnaya Sneham. Vrishni. Sambandha means that through family relationships, all the Vrishnis, they had developed a relationship with Krishna through the family way, and they became devotees in that way. Sambandhal Krishnaya. Snehal Yuyam. Pandavas' qualification was they are Sneham, love for Krishna. They had a love for Krishna, naturally. All the 5 Pandava brothers have the love for Krishna. And Srinara Maharshi says there, Bhaktya Vayam Vibho. Through bhakti, it has happened to us. It has happened to us through bhakti, he says. So, but before saying that, he mentions that all other emotions are also, the pure emotion is only bhakti. Then when bhakti is distorted, it comes in various other forms. Like what we say, the anger, hate, lust, and various other forms. And then he mentions there, Yudhishthira Maharaj asked that question, that is nice, that's very good. But why did Vena, nothing happened to him? Because Vena was an interesting person, isn't it? Vena was this son of the king at that time, Vena became the king. After a lot of difficulty, they installed him as the king, and he was a character in the sense that he enjoyed giving trouble to others, giving pain to others. That was his nature, Vena's nature. He killed the children. When he was a child, 8 or 10 years old, he would push other children into the water and keep them underneath the water till they died. At such an early age, he had that tendency in him to give pain to others and getting enjoyment from that. So this Vena, when he became a king, he stopped all sacrifices and he closed down all the temples, places of worship, everything. And he told the Brahmanas, you are just eating food and not doing any work, you should be going to work. They engaged him as much as possible, he gave all trouble. And all sorts of sinful things started. But Vena was a very tough administrator. He said there is no such thing called God, but if there is a God, that's me. That's how Vena started. Anything is possible in this world, people can impose things like that, provided they are characters like that. Vena could do that. So Vena's point was that God doesn't exist, but if you do want to worship someone, I am that person you should be worshipping. I am the God, and in such way he started. He mentions here, because Vena didn't have any of those emotions in relationship with Krishna, he was not hating Krishna either. He had no fear of Krishna. Because he had no emotions of Krishna, relationship with Krishna, eventually Vena had to go to the hellish planets. That is the reason. Vena was a very powerful king. Because no other way, therefore he mentions there, Tasma Kena Kripayena Mana Krishna Niveshayal. Somehow or the other, Tasma Kena Upayena. By some means, somehow or the other, Manam Krishna Niveshayal. Mind should get absorbed in Krishna. That is the only way one can free oneself from this situation. So that is why in Srimad Bhagavatam so many options are given, isn't it? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. All the 9 processes is meant for this purpose. Somehow or the other, Tasman Kena Vivayena Mana Krishna Niveshaya. How to get absorb the mind in Krishna. For that purpose, it has been spoken like that. So that is why it mentions there that bhakti is the only one emotion what we all have. Everybody has this emotion called bhakti. And now here, this is the conclusion of the Shastra. Conclusion of the Shastra is this. Now, let's see the modern science what it has got to say. Sigmund Freud, the great psychology expert, isn't it? He says there, everybody has what we have got inside is lust. That is his desires inside. He mentions like that. And this modern psychology is completely following him in that way. So what will happen? In fact, there is no such thing, as far as Vedam is concerned, in the Swarupam there is no such thing called Kamam. Kamam is the word in the Shastra. Freud is saying everybody has Kamam. Yes, Kamam is not in the soul. Freud doesn't recognize the presence of the soul inside. He identifies with the mind as the self and says everybody has Kamam. But Kamam is not an attribute to the soul. It has nothing to do with that. Soul by nature is transcendental to all these things. Soul, what Vedam is telling us, everybody is eternal, blissful, full of knowledge. Freud is saying everybody is full of desires. This is what happens when psychology, when you study a lot, it will end up like this. Then you will think, Freud said this and the modern world is very happy to accept that as well. Totally happy to accept that principle. So, in fact, in the Acharya Swami mentions about like this. He says that in no one's inside, nobody has kamam, krodham, moham, lobham, madam, matsaryam. The various things, none of them exist in anybody. These things are there, just like in the dream state. What happens? We think of many things, isn't it? And so many things we experience in the dream. In a similar way they come to us, all these things. But till we find our real self, what we are, up to that point, things will come and give trouble. That's all it is. It's not that it is permanently existing in anyone, any of those things. Lust or anger or greed or envy or jealousy or any such emotions, they are not permanently in anyone. They come and they go. It is all things that's happening inside the mind. But because we have not found the reality, what we are, ourselves, self-realization hasn't happened, therefore we think all these things, we identify with them and we think I have got it. That's how it happens. You can say, when you get angry, what happens? You identify with the anger first, isn't it? Similarly, all other emotions also. You identify with it and then you think that you have that. So, till you do not, by nature, it is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupam. That's our pure identity. Eternal, pure, fully liberated and fully conscious. This is our pure identity of the soul. All other things, emotions, what we are talking about, is all that happens inside the mind. It has nothing to do with the soul. So, because we recognize them, we acknowledge them, therefore, it becomes very difficult. Now, if you acknowledge all these emotions, and then if you want to win over them, that's not possible. Once you start saying that, oh, that's my nature, I can't control it. If you want to get over them, that is not possible, because in reality, Krishna is saying there is only one emotion in everybody, that is bhakti. So, bhakti comes in different dresses. It comes out, and that is all these different forms, what we experience. Bhakti, when it comes out in different forms, like lust, anger, greed, envy. These are all different forms of bhakti that comes out in different dresses outside us. So, because in our effort to find out bhakti, due to ajnanam or ignorance, this way it happens. Once you have tasted bhakti in its pure form, automatically all these emotions will leave us. Therefore, that is why after every verse it mentions that Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamade, because the only relationship for the living, for the soul is with Govinda, and that relationship is bhakti. There is no other relationship. So, Govindam Bhaja, that is the answer. That surrender to Krishna, worship Krishna, that is the answer for that question. So, once we have Govindam Bhaja, once we have tasted that bhajana, then automatically those things will leave us. In the Bhagavatam, how it's spoken is Bhakteva Akramya Manaha. When bhakti is developed in the heart, bhakti will take control of the situation in such a way that it will throw away all other false emotions within us. So, that mentions there in the Bhagavatam that when bhakti develops in a heart of a person in a powerful way, bhakti will take control of the situation and it will swallow up all other emotions inside. So in order to purify that bhakti in the heart of every person, what they call it as upasadhana. Upasadhana means not the main sadhana, subsidiary sadhana, associated sadhana. They are these things, vairagya and things like that, and removing all the attachment to the material world and other things related with that. So asakti, in other words, attachment to money, attachment, relationship with man, woman, all these things are ways to separate out all these things and bring that bhakti in a person outside. So there you can see here, third thing, after Acharya Swami talked about the money, attachment to the wealth, then he spoke about attachment between man and woman, and the third thing he spoke about is Loga Eshana, which is the most difficult one to break through. So, actually what is gone inside every one of us is this word, Logeshana, isn't it? Another word used is Logavasana. So, if you want to go to Satsangam also, you can see this problem happening every time in life, isn't it? You want to go for Satsangam or to hear Bhaja Govindam, but what can you do? Immediately the neighbor comes, there's a party at home, and tells you that if you don't come, it's not very nice. They'll say to them that even if you want to go for Satsangam, Logeshana will come and catch you. And especially among the Brahmanas, in the ancient times, not now, in the ancient times, they were very particular about their sandhyavana, the 3 times what they had to perform, the duty. And those 3 times, no matter whatever you try to distract from them, they will not do it. That was the system then. But because times have changed now, people have become more relaxed about that. When Sandhyavandanam goes on, people come and try to bring them, oh, this serial is going on the television or something else like that, and then Sandhyavandanam can wait. They are meant to do that at a particular Sandhya, 3 times a day. But then they started changing. And all the great acharyas have criticized the Brahmanical community for this, for doing that, they condemned the Brahmanas for this reason only, that they have fallen down from their Sandhyavandanam and other duties what they are meant to perform at that. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see that there is an interesting aspect while referring to this. You remember that in the Damodara Leela, when Krishna was sitting on, Krishna got up Yashoda Devi, on that particular day when Damodar Leela happened, she got up much earlier, on that particular day. The reason was, Nanda Maharaj had to go somewhere. And Yashoda Devi thought that if I get up early and finish all my duties in the kitchen, when Krishna wakes up, I'll be ready for to give enough time for Krishna. It was very good intention Yashoda had. So Yashoda was sitting and Krishna was sleeping, and while Yashoda was churning the yogurt to get the butter, she has put a pot of milk on the stove or on the fire, and the milk was getting boiled. It was then that Krishna got up, and normally when Krishna gets up, Krishna likes Yashoda to be nearby when he gets up. But Yashoda went away, Yashoda was not there, and Krishna got angry for that. And he got up, Yashoda wasn't there. You have to remember he was only probably 18 months or 2 years old. So Krishna got so upset. With great anger he came looking for Yashoda Devi. When he came to the kitchen and saw Yashoda was busy with churning the milk, churning the butter, then Krishna got upset with that. Krishna came and sat in Yashoda's lap and looked at Yashoda. It's all there in the Bhagavatam, if you read, you will see that. And at that time also, Krishna hasn't expressed his unhappiness completely yet. What actually infuriated Krishna was, when the milk started boiling and it came out from the milk started coming out of the pot, Yashoda took Krishna from the lap and put him on the side and went to attend to the milk. That upset Krishna a lot. And what did Krishna do? He took out the churning rod or the stone, grinding stone, and put it on the pot and smashed the whole thing into pieces, isn't it? While giving the explanation to this pastime, what many devotees have agreed on one thing, that when you are engaged in Krishna consciousness, and if you keep giving your time for your material happiness, this will happen one day. It's not a threat or anything, it is the Bhagavatam's message. That's all I am saying here. That if you become seriously engaged in Krishna consciousness, and if you take Krishna consciousness seriously, at the same time, when some material things comes in life and distraction brings there, at that time you leave Krishna behind and go after this material thing, something can go wrong then. You will neither have your material life going well, nor your spiritual life will go well. Both will get into trouble. This is, as far as Krishna is concerned, this is why that pastime was spoken in that way. People just think that, it's a nice pastime, they say. But commentators on Bhagavatam, they are saying to us, it is only to indicate to us that if you take Krishna consciousness seriously, and if you want to progress in that way, in Krishna consciousness, and then some silly thing in material life comes and takes your attention away, which means you are showing your disrespect to Krishna. You are not very respectful to Krishna, because for you, that is more important than anything else. And at that time, Krishna will sometimes react. If you remember that verse in the Bhagavatam, Valsan munjan kuchita samay krosha samjadahasa steyam swadvarti adha dadibhava kalpidei steye yogehi markan bokshan vajadasadel nati bhandan bhinati dravya labhe sagrhavitoya upakroshadogan. Remember, Krishna wanted the butter and other things from the gopis. Gopis didn't give it. What did Krishna do? Went into the small baby sleeping, went and gave a small pinched her and went away from there. Bhagavatam, devotees are saying that, and why Krishna's point is this, that why did you come and take birth here? That was his first question to the baby. So that is Krishna's attitude towards, if one becomes serious about Krishna consciousness, that's what it is. Otherwise not. Many people take to Krishna consciousness in a very relaxed way, isn't it? They are not too serious about it. About self-realization, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not serious business. Now and then we'll hear something and they may take it or may not take it. But when you take seriously Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, these principles are important. You can't ignore them. Because you have taken Krishna shelter. And taking Krishna shelter means that attachment to material engagement, happiness must go from inside. There is no value to it anymore. It is finished with that. So that is why he mentions here that while engaging bhajanam, Bhaja Govindam, while engaging that bhajanam, if you walk away from that, both your that material activity as well as Bhagavad bhajanam, both will get into trouble. Both will get into trouble. So this is called Lokavasana. Now you see how difficult Lokavasana is. Viteshana, by knowledge and renunciation, you can give up. Viteshana. Then that the Videshana and the calm of desire, that attachment to wife, children, and all other ashana related to that. There are three ashanas, ashana train they call, isn't it? So Videshana is attachment to wealth. Dareshana, attachment to wife and family and all others things. Those things also can be brought under control with knowledge. But Lokeshana is not easy. Why? Because it is in others' hands. Those who are coming and pulling you into it. You may not like to do it, but others will come and pull you into it. That's where you need more strength than anywhere else. Viteshana and other Dareshana, as it's called, for the attachment to the man, to the woman, and woman to the man. That thing is in the personal, one's own hands. But Lokeshana is not in your hand. You may not like it, you may not want to go, but this Lokavasana is very powerful. It will come and pull you into it, whether you like it or not. And they will give you all logic and reasoning behind it. Why they will quote even Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam to you, to tell you how important it is to go for that. So it is in these situations that, at least after a certain stage in life, when one knows that death can come any moment and there is not a lot of time left, at that time we have to stop it. We have to call it a day. This cannot go on forever till the last minute, till we leave this body. I keep making my plans for birthday parties and marriage parties. Where is this going to? Where is the time left then after that? This is the reason why Ajahn Swami is saying this in these prayers. That you can see the principle behind it, and if you appreciate that, you can see what he says makes sense. Because there is not a lot of time left in this world for us to engage in Krishna consciousness. Our policy is, let me finish all my duties here, and then I'll take to Krishna consciousness. But there is no time. By the time you finish your duties, the time to go from here. So where will be the time for Krishna consciousness? And that is the question. That is what it is in that next verse. Nalini delagada jalamadi taralam tattva jeevitam adishaya chamalam vidhivyadi abhimanagrastam lokam shogahatam chasamastam. That is that verse. Nalini delagada jalamadi taralam. To understand this life properly, he wants us to open up our eyes and look at it. He says there that normally, for that reason only, that at least after a certain stage in life, one will have to say this. There is no other option left. If somebody comes here and comes invitation for the marriage, they'll come and they will insist that you have to come. They will insist. There is nothing, you can't avoid this because it is such a way they will present it to you. And because in our ignorance, Ajnana, we feel the relationship with the members who come to invitation, find it very difficult. The normal system, what I will say this way, that people who are serious about spiritual life, what they will do at that time, you will say to them that very courageously you have to tell them that you all arrange the marriage and get it done happily. We will sit here at home and pray for their welfare in the future, for the couple who are getting married. Now, if you say this to them, actually, not only you are doing a favor to yourself, if those people who have come and if they heard you saying this to them, what will happen is that when they leave, they will appreciate that, if they are honest about it, if they have some Krishna consciousness in them. They will say at that time that we would also like to be like that at the old age. These thoughts will come to them from inside. That is the normal way it will happen. Many people do this because it's not possible to drag everybody for the marriage and birthday and this and that for a whole lifetime. That requires very unreasonable to do to anybody. Old ladies, they are old men, they are lying in the home, or old age home or wherever it is, ready to leave the body. The great-grandchildren are come for the marriage. I'm getting married, we should come. And drag them from there. All these kinds of things are going on. Therefore, mentions here that if they are leaving you, if you have spoken like that to them, when they are leaving you, they are carrying an ideal within them, that they are carrying that principle behind it. If they are Krishna conscious, they will appreciate that sentiment, that principle behind it. Because to tell someone that I haven't got a lot of time left in this life, if I have to spend time, whole lifetime I have been busy with my family, looking after children, grandchildren, relations, friends, society, everything I have done. And even at this old age, whatever few years left in my life, if I have to spend it looking after the same, their interests and their sense gratification, that is a little bit unreasonable thing to ask. And there is no doubt about that. And we have to have that courage to say that to them. There is no option there. There is no option. Because time is limited. That is what is mentioned here. Nalini dalagala jalamati taralam tattva jeevitam atishaya chalam. Why do the Acharyas say all these things to us? Because they know our weaknesses. These are our weaknesses. But the difficulty here now, today, is sannyasis are also going for the marriages. So what do you do? When those who are supposed to teach these to the householders, they are arranging marriages, they are attending marriages. Why? Because some of these people are the ones who are giving donation to the ashram. So if the donation has to come, I have to go for the marriage. And then they will find a loophole. Sannyasi attending the marriage, only this is the very modern thing happening. One who has thrown away all married life, one has gone away from the world, looking for a higher principle in life, he is coming back again to attend the marriage ceremony. So many times this is happening. Sannyasi is going to attend the marriage, arranging the marriage. It is all become acceptable now. And they are all called sannyasis. So this is the difficulty here. So because somebody, it could be one devotee who is giving a lot of donation to the ashram. So in order to keep that donation coming, he has to attend the marriage. This is how they purchase people. Then what can you do if this happens? So Loka Vasana will never go. Even in the sannyasa ashram, it won't leave you. So, so many things like that. After finishing up all your duty in this world, when are we going to find the time to engage in Krishna consciousness? When is that going to happen? After finishing everything here. Therefore, we are not saying here that it has to be the whole life, but at a particular time in life, one has to call it a day. There is no other way. At a certain stage in life, after that, we have to create that strength within us to fight against this yoga vasana. At a certain stage in life, one has to make up that mind, this is it, I'm not going to do it anymore. I had enough all this. Because all these things what we have done, it's not taken into account as far as self-realization is concerned. It was all, because yoga vasana's nature is like that. Unlike Viteshana and Dareshana, this Logeshana, out of the three, it is there in the Bhagavatam also, Yashanatrayam it's called. Viteshana and Dareshana you can manage somehow. With a lot of decisive mind or decision making inside, you can get over it. Logeshana is not in your hands. It's coming from the world. Is it not? So that's where it has to be much more stronger in that, in fighting against that. So, so even if they are young men or women, when they are young, if Krishna consciousness is the goal of life, if that decision is taken, you require it. You require it. Because particularly, whether you are a brahmachari or whatever it may be, the purpose of life is self-realization. If you have taken to that, you have to keep this logeshana away. You cannot get pulled by that. Not get pulled by that. Many ways it can happen in life. occasion comes. Marriage is only one of them. There are so many other functions also, isn't it? People get invited and then you find it very difficult to say anything to them. And so, then the question is that what should we do with the world? Because you have to deal with the world also. One thing you have to remember, world is always like this. That is not going to change. If you start thinking that you're going to change the world, that is the biggest mistake within us. So, that is why one very famous sannyasi mentioned about this. He spent a lot of time to preaching the whole world and traveled a lot. And ultimately came back and he said like this, he said that this world is like a dog's tail, he said. You know the dog's tail is always bent, isn't it? And if you want to straighten the tail of the dog, you put a pipe and put the tail through the pipe. And leave the pipe there for many years. As soon as you take the pipe out, the tail will go back. Similarly, if you think that you are going to change this world, then everything will change. That is the greatest blunder. It's the greatest blunder. Because, again, because the world has been created, as far as Krishna is concerned, escaping from here is the solution, not trying to change the world. Because the way it is, today you may try to rectify the world with proper Krishna consciousness understanding based on Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. But as soon as we leave it, the world will go back in its own way. Because the next generation who comes, they also have to do the same thing what we are doing. That's why the world is like that. If you try to change it, it will not change. Even if it changes, it will only last that long. As soon as you withdraw from there, everything goes away, back to the normal situation like before. And then people get surprised by this, that they struggled so hard to change this world. And then what happened? After their departure, everything went back into the same situation. You can see this all the time. If you take notice of it, how things are happening in different institutions in spiritual life. As long as the founder was there and who had some strong convictions and realizations about it, he stuck to his principles and he tried to keep them as much as possible. As soon as he departed from the scene, the whole thing went. This is, if you look into it, you will see it happening everywhere. It's not difficult to find it. So, similarly, you can see here that is because those next generation who is coming, they also have to change the world, like we are trying to change the world. That is the nature of this world. Every generation comes, try to change the world, world goes back. The next generation comes, they do the same thing, the world goes back. And the next generation comes, they do the same thing, the world goes back into the same situation. So it is not possible to change the world. That is another Logavasana. It's another Logavasana within us. The relationship with the world in this way. So Logavasana, this Logavasana will take different forms and come and stand in front of us in different forms. First thing, it comes in the form of relatives. They come. In the form of relatives, they come. And it will make you feel that you have all this responsibility and debt towards them, and you have to finish all this thing. And if you have not done that, they will get very scrutinizing. They will discuss these things with you, and constant interference. And that's why you can see this also in one's own life, that constantly interfering in everybody's life is not a good thing. It's not a good thing, because when you start interfering with all people's affairs, you will see things go wrong. That's where a certain distance is necessary in all these relationships. If you want to verify this, all you have to do, you are thinking that because of your presence at home, everything is going on very nicely, isn't it? All you have to do is take a month off and go away somewhere without telling the family. When you come back, you will see the family is getting on very well, without in your absence also. And then you will realize what an illusion that you have been carrying with yourself about family life. So here that when you come back from your, and in many cases, many householders do these things. There are many people who are in household life, but they are serious about spiritual life. What they do, now and then, they will go away from home for a few days. Somewhere, either on a satsangam or on a pilgrimage or something, or visiting some temples, in some way, they will go away from home for a few days. And every time when they come back, they started realizing that the family life is still going on without your presence there. That is a point that is important. So, our problem is that we start thinking in our absence things won't go very well. That fear inside. And this is what is actually our problem, that we can think that we are carrying all the burden on our shoulders. So, that is also Yoga-vasana in face. And that is very powerful. This thing is a very powerful thing. And you have to remember here, Ajahn Swami is saying because of this, that remember here that you have already made this decision inside that life is eternal. Life is eternal. And thinking like that, you are establishing all these relationships in this world. That particular verse, if you see, you'll say there, Nalini Dalagadam Jalam Aditaralam. Tadvat Jeevitam Adishaya Chadalam. He's saying there that Nalini Dalagadam Jalam Aditaralam. Just like you have the water in a leaf, like in the lotus leaf which is in the water, when it's standing there, sometimes there is some water gets carried by the leaf, isn't it? So what will happen is that as soon as it is a slight wind and the leaf gets shaken, the water falls off into the lake. So similarly, he says, Nalini Dalagada Jalam Aditaralam. It's very, very shaky. Is this thing called a life what we have here? Tadvat Jeevidam Adishaya Chapalam. What are the other problems with that? Vidhi Vyadhi Abhimana Grastam. Vidhi Vyadhi Abhimana Grastam. And in that life also, so many problems with the body and the mind, Vyadhi, and pride, ego inside. Abhimana Grastam. And Ajahn Swami is saying there, Logam Shogahatam Cha Samastam. All you get from this world at the end is Shokam, distress. That's what you get from this world. Ultimately, that is what is in waiting. Only we may think that, everything was wonderful, family relationships, so many marriages, daughters are married, sons are married, grandsons are happy, they are all well settled now. People say like this, isn't it? Whole family is well settled, they say. And this well settled and all is only up to a limit. After that, this well settled one will never look at you. They don't want to know whether you are well settled or not. When you die and leave this world, these very people whom you are concerned about, they will not have any interest what has happened to you. That's why in spiritual life you got to be selfish. To some extent it is necessary. And that's not considered wrong. People think that, he's very selfish, they say. He's not selfish. That is what Krishna wants us, expect us to do. Tattva Jeevidam Adishaya Chakalam. Therefore, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam. One who has got such powerful Yoga-vasana inside, Ajahn Swami is calling him as Mudha. Because he is not seeing the reality. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja, Mudha Nade. So, in a beautiful lotus leaf, that you can see that the water that is there, the water won't touch. That is another interesting thing. When the water is in the leaf, this lotus leaf, the water will not moist the leaf. That is how we are meant to live in this world. We have to live here, but we should not be affected by anything in the world. That's the most important thing. That is why that example is very famous in the Upanishads also. This lotus leaf and the water. Why? Two ways. One way, that lotus leaf with a slight wind, the water can fall off. To indicate to us that the lifespan is very short. To mention to us. Directly telling us that the lifespan of life is very, very short period of time. Just like how stable the water in the leaf is, that stable is our life in this world. That's number one. Number two, when the water is in the leaf, you can see, when the water falls off from the leaf, if you look at the leaf, it's not wet. It's not wet. So why is that? Because that's how we are meant to live in this world. That's why that example, lotus leaf and the water. Nalini dalagada jalamadi karalam tadvat jeevitam adishaya chavalam vidhi vyati abhimana grastam logam shokahatam cha samastam. All the world is going to offer you at the end is nothing but distress. Nobody has left this world smiling. Everyone left this world crying. So that is the indication of that. That is the indication of that. So, after saying that, he says, also he mentions there that two things it mentions here. This is also another important thing here. We are meant to live like that, in that way. Apart from that, always to be conscious that no experience in this world can touch the soul. Soul is pure. Nitya Shuddha Mukta Mukta Swarupam. So nothing in the world can touch the soul. All that is happening is here. That is the main principle here. The soul is transcendental to everything. Soul has nothing affected by any of these things, what is happening in this world. Your Viteshana, Logeshana, Dareshana, all these things, Ashana Trayam, has no impact on the soul. So, therefore, in many experiences you may have in life, good happy experiences or unpleasant experiences in this world, all that is happening in the screen. The soul is like the screen, isn't it? And just like when you have the movie shown on the screen, in the movie there is war going on, there is fire, there is fighting, there is marriage, there is birthday parties, there is so many things going on in this movie. Screen is untouched by any of that, isn't it? As soon as the movie stops, the screen is the same. Similarly, the soul inside is completely unaffected by anything what is happening outside. What's happening outside? Similarly, our real Swarupam, our pure identity does not have Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham, Madam, Matsaryam, any of those impure qualities. Therefore, that material existence means all these bad qualities will be there in our life, in this world. But none of them in reality has anything to do with the soul. That is another important principle. None of them has anything to do with the soul. So, our Swarupam, our identity, pure identity is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupam. Eternal, pure, fully conscious, always liberated. That is our pure state of existence. Sparshahinam, that means untouched. Sparsha means to touch. Untouched by the material world. Untouched by the material world. Similarly, all these experiences that's coming to us in life, whether happy, good experience or bad experience, all of them, like the water does not moist the leaf, these good and bad experiences also does not touch the soul. They come and they go. It doesn't do any damage inside to the soul. That's the important thing. Because people think that, sometimes people lament about it, isn't it? You remember, in the Bhagavad Gita there is a very interesting verse. Brahma Bhuta Prasannalpa na shochati na kankshati. Samasaveshu bhudeshu madhaktim lagade param. In the 18th chapter. Why does Krishna say that? Because what's happening here is hankering and lamentation has nothing to do with the soul. In a self-realized state, when the mind dies away, when the mind goes away, then in that pure state, when the soul is alone present, hankering and lamentation will come to a full stop. All these things are not touching the soul at any time, whether you are self-realized or not realized. The soul is never affected by any of these things, what's happening in this world. What's happening in this world. Therefore, it mentions here, in order to make us aware that the soul is completely independent of all these effects of the activities of this world. So once we come to that, that it comes and it goes, that is how we have to see all the emotions. We cannot give more importance to it than that. If you start giving importance to it like this, that sometimes people think that I had so much anger in me, I could not control myself, resist from that, or attachment to sense objects, various things, what we have problem with that. So you can see they all come and they go after a while, none of them will stay there. And once we realize that my pure identity, the self, is under all circumstances untouched by anything in this world. Anything in this world. That is why that comparison with the lotus leaf. It is like the lotus leaf. The soul is like the lotus leaf. It cannot be moist by the water. Similarly, no emotions can create any impact on the soul inside. That's the important thing. Adishaya Chabalam. Adishaya Chabalam means, in there you will see that word Adishaya Chabalam. Adishaya Chabalam means, it's there now, next moment it may not be there. That's what is the nature of Adishaya Chabalam means. So, just like you can see, when we had many natural disasters, sometimes cyclone, earthquake, tsunami and things like that. When tsunami happened, in one stroke, many villages, towns, cities, everything, the banks, the bank deposit, people have put the money into the bank and they were saying that we had so much money deposited in the bank. They have gone, the bank has also gone with it. Remember when famous earthquakes happened? Whole thing, whether it is Barclays Bank or Midlands or whatever, Westminster doesn't matter, everything goes in one lot. Is it not? So that is the reality, actually is like that. So anything can happen. That is why it mentions here, Tadva Jeevidam Adishaya Chabalam, Vidhim Vyadi Abhimana Grastam, Logam Shoka Hatam Samastam. So remember that when earthquake happened in Gujarat many years ago, there was a very powerful earthquake, isn't it? So many people had so much money in the bank deposited, and then later on there was no sign of anybody. It happens all the time, all over the world, isn't it? Andhra had earthquake once. And like this, every time when you see afterwards what happened, the people who had deposited the money and they had put all their faith in the money in the bank and they were thinking life is very safe now. And the next thing what happens is they have gone, the bank has also gone, the deposit is also gone, everything gone. That is what that word, Adishaya Chabalam. Tajvadi Jeevidam, Adishaya Chabalam. So banks has gone, depositors also have gone. So therefore, in the Vedam, there is a hymn, Vedic hymn addressed to Rudra. It means like that. Yate Rudram Dakshinam Mukham. Dakshinam Mukham. That means towards the southward looking Rudra. Rudram Dakshinam Mukham. Dakshinam Mukham means Dakshina is the Dakshina or the southern part, southern direction is Yamadharmaraja's kingdom. Samyamani Puri is called. It is in the southern direction in relationship with this planet. So Rudra means the destruction, isn't it? Shiva is the destroyer. So therefore, when Shiva turns his direction towards that, it means destruction. It means destruction. Therefore, one of the hymns in the Vedam is Yate Rudram Dakshinam. Because of this, Dakshinam, when he turns his attention towards the southern direction, it is destruction at that point. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Arjuna has seen Krishna smiling, isn't it? Always smiling, friendly, good friends, talking nice things. But when Arjuna saw Krishna's another face, he didn't like it very much. You remember that? In the universal form, there is one place where Arjuna says to Krishna, Akyahi meko bhavanugra rupa namostu deva vaya prasida vidyadu michhami bhavandavandyam nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. Arjuna says to Krishna, Akyahi meko bhavanugra rupa. That ugra rupa, I do not like to see, he says. We are only seeing Krishna's smiling form, isn't it? When we see that Ugra Rupam, it is in the 11th chapter, somewhere around 31, 11:31. Akhyahimeko bhavan ugra rupo namostu Vijnādamichāmi bhavandamādyam nahi prajanāmi tava pravrittim. Arjuna is saying to Krishna that who are you in this form in front of me? So when we understand Krishna, we have to understand this way. Krishna has another face also. Arjuna is paying his obeisances to him and says to him, I want to understand you more, your real identity. He says here, because nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. Nobody is able to understand your activities, he says. Nobody is able to understand your activities. Nahi prajanami tava pravrittim, he says there. So, there you can see that Namostudi Devohara Prasidam Vijnādamichāmi bhavandamādyam nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. Then it is after that Bhida Pranamya. That is the next verse, isn't it? Mentions there that he started Bhida Pranamya. If you look in verse 35, when Arjuna saw Krishna's that Ugra Rupam, that fiery form, he says, Eda Shrutvā Vachanam Keshavasya Kridanyarev Evamana Kiridi Namaskritvā Bhuya Evaha Krishnam Sagalgadam Bhida Pranamya. Arjuna got real fear, frightened by that form of Krishna and kept paying obeisances again and again to Krishna. Arjuna started doing that because he really got frightened. So here, then when you see Krishna's that form, that fearful form, this earthquake, cyclone, tsunami and all this, it is Krishna's that form that comes. And when we see that, no matter how courageous you are, at that time, all that courage will go. When Krishna's that form appears in front of us, Prabhupada used to mention this, that he was saying that during the Second World War, that Prabhupada was living in Calcutta, and that time the Japanese were bombing Calcutta. They came up to Calcutta, they bombed, and Calcutta was bombed by the Japanese. Prabhupada says bombs were falling right, left and center everywhere. And he realized it, that any moment it could be bomb finished. But he says somehow I didn't die at that time, came through that. But I saw Krishna's that form, he says, what that form means. And many people in this country also knows, those who have gone through the war, what they have experienced. That is Krishna's another form. Prabhupada mentions that. That is Krishna's another form, he said. That's why it mentions Eda Shrutvā Vachanam Keshavasya Kridanyarev Evamana Kiridi Namaskritvā Bhuya Evaha Krishna Sagalgadam Bhida Pranamya. So when we see that form of Krishna, it frightens. It frightens us. It frightens everybody. So you will see this, that at that time you will become a little philosophical. So therefore, but certain great personalities we can see, like Lord Buddha, he had realized, sensed it straight away, isn't it? It didn't take very long for him to see the nature of this world. Therefore, although his father, he has created 3 different palaces for the sun, one for the summer palace and winter rainy season and the winter time, 3 different palaces with all facilities. And Buddha mentions about this later, that everything I had in life, but such a person when he comes out into the world, he saw a person who was sick, a sick person he has seen. And he's asking his charioteer, how it mentions is like this. His charioteer was specifically instructed by the Buddha's father not to expose him to any such distress in this world. He can go out, but he should not see any distress. That was the instruction given to the charioteer. Lord Buddha's father has given that instruction to him. But what happened was, in Buddha's history it says that although father had given this instruction, the demigods entered into the charioteer's body and they started driving him in certain directions to bring Buddha into that situation, to see the distresses of this world, distress of this life. So he came an old person who was very, very sick and almost to die, almost into death. When he saw that, he asked this question, to this charioteer, that will this happen to me? Will this happen to me? The charioteer said, yes, it will happen to everybody. Not only you, it will happen to everybody. This will happen. And that is then he wandered around few more places. All he noticed was people getting old, people getting sick, people dying in this world. When he saw all that things, he mentions there that is like Vidhi Vyadhi Abhimani Kashta. Vyadhi is that, referring to that. What is on offer everywhere is Vyadhi. Vyadhi is what is going to capture us one day, one way or the other. So, sometimes any Vyadhi can come to this body, isn't it? There will be any medicines. You'll be given a time that so much months you may live or you may not live, whatever it is. So Buddha started asking this question. Will it happen to me? He said. The charioteer said yes. Will it happen to my wife, Yashoda? He said yes. It will happen to her also. And this is the second stage of fear. That means, first thing, will it happen to me? Second thing, will it happen to my relations and friends, particularly close relatives, wife, children and things like that. So, those who are dependent on me, like in the Buddha's case, Yashoda was dependent on Buddha, and he is saying, will that happen to Yashoda also? So he mentions to him, old age will definitely come. Vyadhi may come or may not come, but old age will come. And there are physicians in the palace to treat the disease also. But things what is happening into your body, there is no disease for that. There is no disease for that. And that is what is the next verse. If you look into the verse 15, and there you will see what it mentions there. Angam galidam palidam mundam dashanavihinam jadam tundam vruddho yadi grihitva dandam tadavina munchari asha bindam. That is that verse. Angam galidam palidam mundam dashanavihinam jadam tundam vruddho yadi grihitva dandam Tadavina Munchari Asha Pindam. Isn't it? So, Angan Galidam Halidam Kandam. Asha Pindam. Asha Pindam means then Namunchari Asha Pindam, he says. Angam Galidam, different parts of the body has started losing its strength. And the teeth have started falling off. Hair has gone grey. And all of the changes in the body that's happening in the old age. So here, in that verse, if you look carefully, you will see Acharya Swamiji was a very young person. He was probably, when he wrote this, he was probably 20 or 21. And he left the world at 32. So he is talking about an older person. So he mentions here that Angam Galidam, that means hands and legs. It's like he says here, Palidam Tundam means like a nut and bolt, it's coming loose in everywhere, all the joints. Just like, so he says, it's not anymore straight like the way it is in a young person, isn't it? You see, so old people, their hands and legs are going in all directions. It's not going the way you want it to go. Hands and legs are all acting in a funny sort of way. So he says, Angin Kalidam Halidam Hindam, he says. And not only that, hair is gone grey, and Dashanavihinam Jadam Tundam. So, Dashanavihinam Jadam Tundam. That means that this mouth which is open, it's a cut open here, isn't it? That's his mouth. The whole mouth is, that's what is cut open here. It is not anymore much of a use because he can't eat anything. Nothing is getting digested. So he sees all the nice good stuff in this world, everything well prepared, nicely cooked, but he can't eat anything because he's got sick. He is sick, he can't eat anything. So, not only that, he says, he calls it as just an opening in the body, he says, the mouth. Why he calls it like that? Because this mouth was never used for chanting the holy name. That's why he says that. He says, because it was never used for chanting the holy name, he says, what good has it done actually? Except that it has eaten a lot of food, different things. Apart from that, it has never helped, not one good word is spoken from that, never studied any shastra with that. Therefore, Dashana Vihinam, that Dashana Vihinam means inside all it was doing was like a grinding machine, it was working the rest of the whole life. The mouth was nothing but a grinding machine. You put the food in and it kept grinding whole life. No other purpose was served with this particular opening. That's what he's saying. He makes a joke of the whole thing. He says, Dashana Vihinam Jadam Tundam. That all it was done was like that. So, Jadam Tundam. And it's going here, he says, and he's carrying what else? A dandam in the hand, old man. And if you ask him, where are you going? To get my pension. He's not making fun in the sense that he is making fun of our own life in this world. Dashanavihinam Jadam Tundam. It says, and at the end he carries these mentions there. This is about us. What is spoken is all about us. Therefore, he says, Vruddhoyadi Grihitva Dandam. The old man, he has got his stick in his hand. And he says, Sannyasis also got the stick, the old man has also got it. So he says, this is just like me, he said. I was always saying this, I got the stick, he has also got the stick. Only difference is, I am going the stick for some better purpose. He is going the stick for getting his pension, he says. Dashanavihi Tadavina Munjani. But one thing has not left him. What is that? Desires. Has not left. Still he is thinking, oh, there is some happiness in this world, he says. And he is looking for that. Therefore, he mentions that Ashabindam. So, here, even after reaching that stage in life, desires are not going away from inside. So, all these things are spoken. That consciously, voluntarily, if one gives up these, if we do not give up these things, desires inside or weaknesses, they will not go from within. Krishna has given us that freedom for that. That is why Krishna says, I do not interfere in anybody's affairs. Everybody has to make up their own mind and make the decisions and remove this anartham from inside. One has to know what is good for oneself and one has to protect oneself. Old age will come. Buddha says there, Jara, Vyadhi, Vardhakyam. And that will come to me as well. And all those things, all those personalities who are dependent on me, they will also have the same thing. And that has to be, and next thing is the death. So, just like they say, the only one thing what we can confirm that in this world as sure as death, they say, isn't it? So, nothing else to be spoken about that. And the death is dancing in front of us every moment. Jara, Vyadhi, Maranam. And what else? With that, Samyogam, Viyoga, Dukham. That means, Samyoga means that Krishna mentions there in the 6th chapter also that the Samyoga, Viyoga, Tam Vidya, Dukkha Samyogam, Viyogam, Yoga Samyogam. So Samyoga Viyogam is an important thing in everybody's life. Like we have come and many others have joined us in the name of family members and relatives and all that. They have joined us here, isn't it? And sometimes they will leave us also. That is called Samyogam and Viyogam. And the Dukham or distress that is coming from that is called Samyoga Viyogam Dukham. So they asked this, and Buddha was asked this question, that why have you given up all these things? It was that time Buddha brought this as an issue there. That's why he mentioned that. Iti janma jara maranam na bhavet. He mentions there. This is a famous statement. Iti janma jara maranam na bhavet. When Buddha gave up home and walked away, many people asked Buddha. Buddha had everything. He was a prince, royal family member, and had all the facilities. In spite of that, he gave up everything and walked out from the house. So he says to them, Yadi janma jara maranam na bhavet. If there will not be death again, and there will not be another birth again, if you can give me a guarantee, then I don't mind staying home. Then he also mentions there, Yadi Ishtaviyogam na bhavet. Where Ishtaviyogam means those who are very close to you. If they won't die and they will always remain with me for all time to come, then I have no problem, I'll stay in the family. I'll stay within the family. Ishtaviyogam na bhavet. Sarvam anityam na bhavet. Everything is so temporary here. And iha kasya janma radham na bhavet. There is the question of who can enjoy here, say that everything is wonderful here in this world. This was made principle Buddha has spoken at that time. Because you have to see in your own life, the person who is very, very dear to you in your life, he leaving you one moment and going away from you. You will have witnessed this. Whether it's father, mother, wife, husband, doesn't matter. It can happen, isn't it? That's why he mentions there, Iti janma jara maranam na bhavet, yadi ishtaviyogam na bhavet, sarvam anityam na bhavet, iha kasya janma radham na bhavet. If all these guarantees are there, I am willing to stay home. Saying this, Buddha walked away from home. So that is the strength of that vairagyam inside Buddha. Buddha had that renunciation inside to that degree, isn't it? If all these things were not temporary, I would have been happy in this world, Buddha says, and I would have stayed home. But what can I do? I can't do anything about it, he says. That is the law of material nature. And Buddha also recognized and accepted that. So, there is a story about this. A great yogi, he went to a householder to see a householder. Householder was a very mature person. So he went to his house and he told this householder, now that you are quite old in your household Grahastha ashram, so leave everything and come with me to the forest. The yogi said to him. So householder said, how can I do that? He was quite matured in many ways. In his householder life he was matured. So he says to the yogi that I've got my wife and children and they are dependent on me. If I come with you, what will happen? What will happen? Yogi says to him that yogi understood that there is no point in talking to him anymore. It's not going to work. Because he is very well convinced inside that his family life, his wife, children, all that, they are dependent on me. If I go away with the yogi to the forest, it's going to cause difficulties there. So he was saying like this. And his mother as well was living there with him. So ultimately yogi said to him one thing. I'll give you a tablet, he said. I'll give you a tablet. And if you take this tablet, temporarily it will appear as though you are dead. Temporarily appear as though you are dead. You take this tablet, go home and take it and sit there. In a short while you will appear as though you are dead. So he went home, took the tablet and he was sitting there and it appeared as though he died after taking the tablet. So the wife and the mother and the children, they were all there. They saw, they came and looked at him and looked up. He appeared as though he was dead. But the yogi had told him that when you are in that state, after this tablet is taken, still you will be able to hear what they are talking about when after your death. So they were all lying there dead. He was lying appeared as though he was dead. All his relatives came there and they started crying. The mother started crying, saying that this is my only son, this has happened to him, who's going to care for me, this, that and the other. She heard her music And then the wife's music started after that, wife saying that who is going to care for us, who will look after the children, this, that and the other. At that time, the yogi walks into the house and he says to the family members, well, there is a choice now, he said, that we can bring him back to life, but one of you have to give up your life for his sake. In that case, he will get his life back. So as soon as he said that, the mother goes to the toilet, says, I have to go to the bathroom, and she escapes from there. The wife says that even if I go away, who is going to care for these children? So all that crying what they were doing before the yogi came was nothing but a show. It has nothing more than that, no more seriousness behind it. So at that time, the yogi brought him back to life again. And the householder said, let's go. He finished with that. This is how this so-called family life. That's very candid. It's a story spoken, whether real or not is another thing, but the message is, that is how serious this whole business is. Malini Dalagadam Jalamali Karalam Tadwa Jeevidam Adishaya Chamalam Viddivyadi Abhimana Grastam Yogam Shoga Hadam Samastam. The mother was a very, very old lady and who was crying, oh, you have left me, you have left me. But the same person, when he came to the question of giving up her own life, where was that love? What was there in her? Where has it gone? And there is no sound of her for a while after that. She has gone to the bar, asked the wife, where has she gone? Because everybody thought she is such an old lady. She could go at that point instead of him. But she was not willing to go. She was says to him that, and when they asked, when the wife says so she has gone to the bathroom, hasn't come back from there since then. Wife says to him that, who is going to look after the children? And that time mother comes back and says, well, we knew that he had a very short span of life because when we looked at his horoscope, we have seen this. In that way. Therefore, so what can we do? Nobody will agree for this. They will say so many things. Ultimately, he walked out with the yogi. This is the world. So nothing is permanent, and therefore Mrityu, death personified, also don't wait for anything. That is why after once the death has happened, then this body, nobody cares for this body. The value what you give to anybody today is not to the body, but is the person inside, the soul, that who has got the value. And then when that value person goes away, the person has no value anymore after that. So there's an interesting thing that in Jagannath Puri, when the chariot is taken in the procession on Rath time. So one day the chariot was moving and one dog happened to come that way. And the dog was moving in front of the chariot because the street was open, free to move. So everybody was paying obeisances to Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. So the dog thought, they are all paying obeisances to me. Dog is thinking like that. So in this way, we also have the same misunderstanding in this world. People are paying obeisances to you, are paying obeisances to me. But, so once this soul leaves this body, it is a mamsapinda, isn't it? It's a piece of flesh. That's all it is. There's nothing more than that. And therefore, there are so many things associated with this. That the dog thought that everybody is paying obeisances to me. So the next day, after the Rath Yatra was over, the dog started walking through the street. Everybody was throwing stones at the dog. So the dog thought, what is this really funny thing? That yesterday they were all paying obeisances to me, today they are throwing stones at me. Dog did not understand. Similarly, in our ignorance also, when we feel respected in the world, actually the respect is for Krishna who is present inside us, the soul, not to this body. Nobody is offering any respect to this body. But in our ignorance we think that body is offered all the respect, or to the false ego is getting the respect from this world. In Patanatara's case, an interesting thing happened. Patanatara, after he left home, moved away from home, ran and threw away all his opulences. One day he was walking through a street And there was a very wealthy businessman who was his friend in his early life. Business people are also friendly to each other, isn't it? Because of their wealth. So one of his wealthy business friends saw Bhaja walking through the street and called him and told him, "What did you get now? You threw away everything and you are wandering around like this with a begging bowl. What did you gain from this?" So Bhaja told him that what it is that you have not seen probably. Have you noticed so many dogs and foxes, they also walk through this way. And when they walk through this way, what do they see? They see you here, sitting here. And this businessman had a big belly. And he had employed people to massage his belly and the body with the oil nicely and a lot of good massaging. And the dogs and foxes, I heard them talking to each other. Look at that businessman's belly. You have to wait for a while, it will come, it will be our food one day. So they were impressed by his belly that they get such a big piece of flesh for them to eat for these dogs and the foxes. So that's what they are talking about you, Patranthar says to the businessman, to this big businessman. So similarly, that this body, what we consider is such an important thing, in the Srimad Bhagavatam there are certain places where Shuka Brahmashi has spoken very, very strongly about it. He mentions there. So, if you look in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where does this happen? In the first instance, in the third canto. How Shuka Brahmashi is opening our eyes to look at our own body very seriously. He says there that Didi Devi and Aditi Devi, two wives. Kashyapa Prajapati had two wives, isn't it? Didi and Aditi. From Aditi came all the Devatas, demigods. And from Didi came all the demons. Isn't it? Danavas and Daityas came from the Didi Devi. So Didi Devi, from whom Hiranyasha and Hiranyakashipu were born, that Didi Devi on an evening time, late in the Sandhya time actually, the twilight, isn't it? At that time, Didi Devi approached Kashyapa Prajapati for a union. They approached for a union. Kashyapa Prajapati tried very hard not to engage in such activities at that time. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you look in the third canto, you will see this in the 14th chapter. Then Shuka Brahmashi is talking to Vidura and mentions there Didi Vacham, that is that Didi's conversation with Kashyapa Prajapati. If you look there, you will see in the 27th verse, Hasamli Yasya Charidam Hidurbhaga Swalmandrasya Vidushas Samihitam Ye Vastramalya Bharana Lepane Shwabhojanam Swalpadayo Balalitam Hasamli Yasya Charidam Hidurbhaga Swalman Ratasya Vidushas Samihidam E Vastramalya Bharana Lepane Shobhojanam Swalpadayo Manalitam. Says here, Sharapuja says here, that there is someone who is going there, he says, that Hasamdi Yasya Acharitam Hi Durbhaga Swalman Radasya Avidusha Samihitam. In the evening time, Kashyapa Prajapati says, Lord Shiva travels and he looks at people what they are doing, what they are engaged in. And he is seeing that this material body, which is meant to become a food for the dogs one day, Shobhojanam, thinking that I am this body, and they are decorating their body with various things. They decorate their own body with the various things. And seeing that, Lord Shiva is smiling. Lord Shiva is smiling, seeing that. Why? Seeing that ajnanam in the person. The time in the evening, particularly the Sandhya hours, is meant for spiritual life. Just like the early hours in the morning is meant for spiritual life. So Sandhya time, when it is utilized for any other activity, is not considered to be appropriate. Vedic injunctions mentions that. So Didi Devi, when she asked for association with Kashyapa Prajapati says to him that look at there, see what's happening. He points out in one direction. Verse 22. Esha khoratama vela ghoranam khoradarshanaha charandi yasyam bhutani bhudesha anucharaniha. That Lord Shiva, who is the controller of all the bhutas, ghosts and hobgoblins, and all of them, he is traveling on the bull all around and he is seeing things. And that personality of Lord Shiva who is traveling in that way is explained in the next verse. Edasyam sadhvi sandhyayam bhagavan bhuta bhavanam parido bhuta varshadvir vrishena madati bhudaran smashana zakranila dhuni dhumram vigirna vidyota jala kalavaha basmava gundhamala durmadeho devastrivi pashyadi devaraste. Then Lord Shiva's form, because all over his body he has covered with the ashes, and he has his matted hair, and he has got his complexion is like a silver colored complexion, and he has got 3 eyes as well, isn't it? Shiva has the third eye. So, and you will not be able to escape from Lord Shiva's eyes if we engage in such an activity now, says Kashyapa Prajapati to Didi Devi. Kashyapa Prajapati was trying to put a stop to Didi Devi's behavior. So he told Didi Devi not to engage in that, and even shown Lord Shiva traveling on the bull to Didi Devi to look at him. And still Didi Devi did not take notice of it. Nayasya loke sujana parava natyadudo no the kasyam vigrahyam vayamrade charanaba vidha ashasmahejam vada mukta bhogam. He says, and that Lord Shiva is concerned, Kashyapa Prajapati says there, for him there is no his people and somebody else, Sujanam or Param. Everyone, he looks at everybody in this equal way. He does not think of somebody is my friend or enemy. That feeling Lord Shiva doesn't have to him. And he does not have to respect anybody or insult anyone. That is also not in his nature. You know that. He does not have the nature of insulting anyone or respecting anybody. That is not Lord Shiva's nature. We saw that in the Trayagam, isn't it? In the trust story. When Lord Shiva sat there and Daksha expected him to offer respects to him. That is not in Lord. Because Shiva is such a great personality, transcendental personality with realization. After all, it is Krishna's expansion, isn't it? Another expansion is Shiva. So Shiva has that pure state of consciousness. He is not expected to offer any respect to anybody. It's not expected. Nor it's expected from him. He will not act in a way which will hurt anyone or offend anybody. So Kashyapa Prajapati says to Didi Devi, like such a great personality is traveling there on the top of the bull. And such a person who, he mentions here, that Vayam Pradaya Charana Abhavidam Asha Asmahejam Vada Bhukta Bhogam, that everyone in this world, they accept what is being given by him as prasadam. They accept that. And he has no Veda Buddhi. Veda Buddhi means that he is my friend or he is my enemy. This kind of thinking is not in him. In Lord Shiva, that doesn't exist. And that Yasya Anavadya Charidam Manishino Gunandya Vidya Padalam Vivilsava Nirastadasyam Adishayobaya Swayam Vishajalanya Acharal Gatisadham. And those great jnanis who wants to remove the ignorance from inside, they glorify Shiva, because Lord Shiva is also considered as Dakshinamurti, as the spiritual master of the universe. There is another aspect of this Dakshinamurti, Lord Shiva's another incarnation, instructing the four Kumaras, Sanaga, Sananda, Sanatana and Sanat Kumara, instructing them about transcendental knowledge. Shiva had to take that form as Dakshinamurti and instructed them. That is what is referring here. That one who instructs the great personalities like the four Kumaras. The Kumaras got instructed Sri Narada Maharshi later, isn't it? Narada Maharshi got instructed from the Kumaras. Kumaras were instructed by Lord Shiva separately. So that such a great personality and who has that position as the expansion of absolute truth in that way, and who performed these pastimes in this world, traveling on the bull and with these ashes on the body and the matted hair and wearing an elephant skin as the cloth and a deer skin on the shoulder as the uttarium, in this way, and the moon on the head, and that great personality on the bull is traveling and you are not giving any attention to that and still engaging in this. Hasandi, he says, he is smiling, look at him. He said, Lord Shiva is smiling at you, saying this, Yasya charidam hi dubhagaha swatmandalasya vishasamihidam ye vastramanya bharanamanulepaneshu bhojanam swalpatayo balalidam. Why are they smiling? Because not knowing that this body, which is meant for as food for the foxes and the dogs later, and you are decorating this body and trying to get due to identification with the body, trying to enjoy this body, seeing that they are smiling at you. Shiva is smiling at you with all his associates, he says to him. So when he mentions like this to Shiva, Dididevi mentioned this to Kashyapa Prajapati mentioned this to Shiva. Kashyapa Prajapati says there that he is making Shwabhojanam Swalpa Tayo Balalidam. Shwabhojanam Swalpa Tayo Balalidam. In other words, something what is meant for the food as for the dogs, you are taking this as the soul, identifying with that. That is, instead of identifying with the soul, thinking that as the soul, and you are wandering around in this world, and how sad it is. How sad it is, he says there. How long will it last? No matter how beautiful the body is, at one day if you don't take a bath, it will start smelling, isn't it? That is the nature of this body. If you don't maintain it every day, it will have its own problems. We'll start from that. So practically you can see that the glory of any body is not due to the flesh or the blood or the bones or the shape or the form of the body. Every body, the respect is offered not because of any of those things, but due to the presence of the soul inside. Krishna's presence inside, that is why that body is still staying in that way. Body is offered the respect. So, therefore, Vinmayavar Jadalpanam. Inside that body, Jadam, body is a Jadam. Inside that body, Vinmayavar. Therefore, there is another Vastu, another something what is inside, present there, which is always giving us this message, Ahamasmi, Ahamasmi. And presence all the awareness inside. That Vastu inside, which is not touched by anything, that is Krishna's presence inside us. And that's Spurti. That's Spurti. That is called Spurti inside, isn't it? We mentioned this before also. Deham Naham Soham Koham. That main statement. So, what is that Spuranam, that thing that is coming out from that? What is the Swarupam? You can see there that when you lose your part of the body, that awareness is not affected, isn't it? We talked about this many times. Hand goes away, legs goes away, or any part of the body goes away, your awareness is always complete. Never it is getting affected by that. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you know this story where they have replaced Daksha's head. Daksha's head was replaced, isn't it? In the Bhagavatam, you know that has happened. That it may happen, but probably due to the advancement in the science, like they have replaced the heart, they have replaced so many things in the body, they may be able to one day replace the head as well. It may happen in that way. But what is important to know here is that after the operation, when they have a heart operation, so for a heart transplant, everything,
that they will move the heart again, because in other words, to make us clear to us that instead what's happening of the operation is that Krishna, who is inside the heart, who is present inside as the soul, he has no connection with the heart. That is why when you replace the heart with another one, when Krishna decides to come back inside, the new heart has to function. This is the heart transplant. Although medicine won't agree with that. They think that their mechanical system is working. The mechanical way it may be operating, but if it not operates, if the soul withdraws from there. Soul is willing to come back to that new heart, what you have changed, and put that back. The soul enters back into it and it functions again. It functions again. People misunderstand that, isn't it? They think, how come the heart transplant has happened? So where is the soul has gone? The soul's nature is like that. The soul can occupy where it wants anytime. And according to the Prarabdha Karma, if that person has to go through that, the soul has to stay in the body till the Prarabdha is finished and the body drops away. So, what is important there is that this soul inside, although he is present within the body, he has no contact with anything at any time. That is the way the soul's connection with the body is. Soul is present inside, but at no time it has any contact with anything, still he is inside. He is inside the body. Therefore, it is called as avabodham. This is why it is called avabodham. Sandram avabodhalnagam. Sandram, Anandam, Avabodham. The two words used for reference to the soul, one is Anandam, other one is Avabodham. Avabodham means this. Avabodham means wherever it presents, it takes its presence, consciousness appears there. That is Avabodham. So this person who gets operated through heart transplant, if we Avabodham and quality of the soul, which is the feature of the soul, if the soul enters the whole of Bodham, consciousness comes back to that body again. That's why Sandrananda Avabodhal Anandam and Avabodham is the two features of the soul. What else? Kala Deshavadibhyam. Time and space cannot touch the soul. Time and space can only touch the body and the mind. Body is limited, isn't it? It has born at a particular time, it will live for some time, eventually it will die and go. Body takes a particular space and body can only remain within that space. It cannot expand from there. But soul is beyond time and space. Soul can expand and present in many places. That is why realized souls, when they give up their body, they give up the body in several places at the same time. Sadashiva Brahmendra's case, he gave up the body in Kanchipuram, he gave up the body in Lahore, he gave up the body in Kedarnath. 3-4 places he gave up his body. Acharya Swamiji's life also you will see, he gave up the body in Sringeri, he gave up the body in Banaras, he gave the body in Trishur, and 4-5 places his samadhi you will find. Great souls are like that. You will find their samadhi in many places. It's not that there was a confusion where he left the body. In all these places, when they left the body, the local people thought that he gave up this body here. And that's why samadhi there at 4 or 5 different places for these great personalities. That is the nature of the soul. Soul can, desha kalavadibhyam, kalam desham, time and space cannot enter into them. They've gone beyond that. Time and space, they've gone beyond that. Therefore, you will see here that consciousness is like that. Then, it is then that this inquiry comes. Who am I? What am I? What is my identity? This question will come. So, continuously turning your attention towards our identity, Shraddha, towards our identity is, what is that? In vacant state, body is there. Body is there. And I am there, body is there, mind is there. Isn't it? Body is there, the mind is there, I am there. As soon as you move into the dream state, body has gone, mind is there, I am there. And when you go into deep sleep, body has gone, mind is gone, I am there. Is it not? That is that three states of existence. That's how we study the Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti state. So these three states, keeping these three states in perspective, in the waking state, body is there, mind is there, I am there. In the dream state, body is not there, mind is there, I am there. In the deep sleep, body is not there, mind is not there, I am there. Is it not? That is the principle. So you will see this. If you look into Kathopanishad, what does Nachiketas was told about this? Yamadharmaraja says to him, if you look into Kathopanishad, you will see that verse 8 in the Tritiya Valley, you see the last three ending. Ya esha sutteshu jagarti kavam kavam purusho nirmimana tadevam shukram tal brahmam tadevam amrutamochyate tasmin loka shrita sarveda unadeti kaschana edadvai tadai. This is how Yamadharmaraja told Nachiketas. He says to him, Ya esha swapneshu jagarti kamam kamam purusho nirmimana. Ya esha purusha. That means that purusha or alma inside us, which has become as jivalma, in the jivalma state, he and swapneshu jagarti kamam kamam purusho nirmimana. In other words, he is there in the deep sleep state also. He is awake. Swapneshu jagarti. Even the swapnam state also he is awake. In the vacant state, what happens? In the vacant state he is awake and he is also experiencing the what they call as in that state it is called Vishwam. Vishwam, Taijasam, Prajnam. Isn't it? That's the three names given to the soul in the three states. So in the Vishwam state, while he is present in the vacant state, he is busy with the world, therefore he is called Vishwam. And when he goes into the dream state, he is called Taijasam. Taijasam means at that time also he is aware of his existence. Awareness is there. I am there. I am there. That awareness is present at that stage also. And what has Tal Eva Shukram Tal Brahma. He is Brahman. He is not different from Brahman. Brahman is present in him at that time. Kamam Kamam Purusho Nirmimana. What does he do there? Kamam Kamam Nirmimana. According to his karma gati, or in other words, the direction in which his karma is flowing, accordingly, different happiness and distress he continuously receives in their vacant state. In the vacant state. Kamam Kamam Purusho Nirmimana. And who creates that? The same Alma who is creating all this happiness for himself in the vacant state. That's what Ya Esha Swapneshu Jagarti. In other words, Kathopanishad, Nachiketas, Yama is saying to Nachiketas that according to one's power of karma, ability to execute karma Shakti is called. Prahlada also mentions about this karma Shakti. If you look into Prahlada's Stuti, you will see in the Bhagavatam what is karma Shakti means. Vahya savatmiva gehapatim lunandi jihvaiga dochina vikarshani mavidrata shoshnonyena shishnonyesta kudaram shravanam kudachal granonyena chabaladre kucha karma shakti vahya savatmyam iva gehapatim lunandi. Karma Shakti is spoken there. Karma Shakti means that every jiva has a certain ability to engage in activities in this world according to its karma vasana and its ability to perform certain activities. It will perform, and that is its karma Shakti. So according to one karma Shakti, it will function in this world, and in result of that, it brings some results, happiness, whatever it may be, and who is offering that results? The results are offered by Alma inside, not by the Jiva Handa, isn't it? Results are decided by Antaryami inside. Antaryami releases whatever results he is entitled for. He gets it. And that Alma or Paramatma or Brahman, whichever way you address that thing he is the same person who is present inside as Jiva. They are no different. They are one and the same thing. But in one way, he is Jiva because of the false ego. In another way, he is not like the two birds we spoke about in the Upanishad, isn't it? That famous verses in the Bhagavatam. There are two birds sitting on the tree. One is addressed as Jivatma, other one is addressed as Paramatma. Jivatma wants to enjoy the world. Paramatma is a silent witness to everything. Initially, both of them had the same color. But when Jivatma started enjoying sense gratification, engaging sense gratification, it started becoming darker and darker. Every time it bites a fruit, when it's bitter, it moves further down. When it finds it sweet, it moves further down. When it finds something bitter, it gets closer back to it. Our life in this world is spoken in a poetical way. In the Upanishads as well as in the Bhagavatam also, and in the Vedas also. Everywhere it's present, this particular episode spoken. So there, Jivatma at some stage, when he had enough of this world and starts realizing that all what is on offer is nothing but bitter fruits everywhere, he gets very close to the Paramatma. And at some stage, he realizes that he is not different from that Paramatma inside. It is at that time that unity comes. That is what is spoken here. That Jivatma, when he comes away from the Paramatma, Jiva Surubena, as a Jiva is there, but till its karma is finished, that he has to go through this cycle, continuously of repeated birth and death, samsara chakra it is called. That it has to go through the cycle of material existence. It keeps going through that. And when karma is over, when it is released from its karma, wheel of karma or wheel of samsara is called, it leaves its jiva quality and acquires the same quality as the Brahman, Paramatma. At that stage it comes to him, who is present inside as the Antaryami. So here, Yamadharmaraja says to Nachiketas, Ya esha sutteshu jagarti kamam kamam purusho nirmimana. It is the same soul who is present even in the deep sleep state, where that awareness never leaves away. His existence is always there. Like in the waking state as well as the dream state. Tadeva shukram tal brahmam tadevam amrita muchyate. Nachiketas know very well the nature of that entity. It's like this. Tadeva shukram tal brahmam. Tadeva shukram tal brahmam tadevam amrita muchyate. Brahmam is that. That is Brahman. And that is also called immortality. Amrita means immortal. That's also immortal. Brahman is immortal. And then he what else says? Tasmin loga. All the worlds what we perceive as worlds in creation. Tal kaschana na kaschana u na atyedi. Nothing can transcend that. Edad vai tadad. It is that thing what you have asked me. Here in these verses, it is the last verses in the Kathopanishad. After Nachiketas asked this question to Yamadharmaraja, when Yamadharmaraja found out that Nachiketas was a very qualified person to receive the transcendental knowledge, it is then that Yamadharmaraja is instructing this knowledge to Nachiketas. So Nachiketas wanted to know what is Brahman. Is there existence after death? So in order to bring Nachiketas to that point, Yamadharmaraja is talking to him what is the nature of Brahman, and that is where this verse is coming from. In other words, when he says here, Yeshu Swapneshu Jagarti, which means even during the dream state, when you are lying there in the bed like a dead body, isn't it? Dream is going on, but the existence is like a dead state. No body is functioning at that time, in the sense that none of your limbs are active in any way. At that time, what does he do? What does the soul does? He brings the mind very forcefully inside. That's what it happens in the dream state, isn't it? You have stopped all activities and you are lying down in your bed, and suddenly the powerful force called the mind comes up from inside, And what happens? in that dream state, so many different forms and names, everything appears. Namarupam comes. Is it not? In reality, like in the vacant state, nobody is there. So where did this come from? Who does that? That is what Upanishad is saying. So, look at this way. We talk about creation, isn't it? Look at the power of creation of the soul. That is what dream state is teaching us. That we talk about Krishna's creation. A very miniature form of Krishna's creation is our dream state. In that dream state, the soul is capable of creating. For example, suppose I see this room now in the night in my dreams, all of you are present there. But in reality, like in the waking state, nobody is there. But how do I see each one of you very distinctly in my dream? Where is it coming from? It's my expansion from within. The soul creates that expansion from inside. To show to us, it is exactly the way our dream is limited to our body. This world is Krishna's dream. This world, what we see, only thing is, because it's Krishna's dream, it's big dream. Because it's our dream, it's a much smaller dream. That's all the difference is. In absolute level, both are the same. In creation wise, it's the same. This creative potency in the soul is what is shown in that dream state. That's how we have to understand the dream. That's the purpose of that dream state. To make us understand that the creative potency of the soul. So, there you can see there that so at that time when that dream state comes, you can have the whole creation in that dream, is it not? So many things. All your experiences of life in a few hours you can have it. It's also trying to prove to us time and space has no meaning. Time and space has no meaning. Say you have gone through, say 30, 40 years of your life, various experiences all the way through. Childhood, what you have experienced, adult, as a teenager, what you have experienced, in a youth, what you have experienced, and then middle age, what you have experienced. All these things you can experience in one night, in a few hours time. Whole thing you can go through again. So what has changed now? The same impact what you had when you went through those experiences can be created in the dream state. What Shastram is telling us is that when it comes to soul, spiritual activities, this thing called time, what you are giving so much importance in your vacant state, is practically irrelevant as far as the dream state and deep sleep is concerned. Therefore, time and space is something what one has to get rid of from inside for spiritual life. In spiritual life, you will always notice all spiritually very elevated people, personalities. If you speak to them, you will notice that they don't give any importance to the past. They don't give any importance to the future, because as far as they are concerned, they are both a lie. Past is a lie, future is a lie. What is truth is only the present. And executing spiritual life now, right now, at this point, is important than talking about the past and talking about the future. So, you can see that in that dream state, the whole creation is present there if it happens like that. So, therefore, because he is present there, soul who is present there, that is why you are able to perceive it in that way in the dream state. So, now leave that behind and you go into the deep sleep state. What happens there? The body is not there, the mind is not there, but still I am there, isn't it? So, that identity in the deep sleep state, what I was experiencing, some great happiness, is it not? In that deep sleep state. That is my identity. So, in the Jagrat, in other words, your identity in Jagrat or your identity in the dream state is not your real identity. Rather, your real identity is the one in the deep sleep. You have to look through it very seriously, because in the Jagrat, you have, even if you understand on an intellectual level you are not this body, your identification is with the body, isn't it? In the dream state, Even though you know you are not the body, mind and everything, your identification is in the mind. Whereas in deep sleep, you are not identifying with the body, you are not identifying with the mind, but you are conscious of your existence, awareness, which is nothing but anandam, happiness it is. That's what you are experiencing in the deep sleep state. Therefore, neither the wakened state nor the dream state is your proper identity. Your pure identity is in the deep sleep state. This is the Upanishad's conclusion. Upanishad's conclusion. So, that essence, what is present in the deep sleep state, that is always there. Any emotions comes, for example, for us, any emotions when it comes, say for example envy or hate or anger, all of that disappears in Sushupti, isn't it? In deep sleep state, they all disappears, which is again to show that is what is proving to us. In my pure identity, they don't exist in me. People always say that I get very angry, I am very angry, or I get very greedy, or I get very envious. People say like this, isn't it? But none of these base qualities, they don't appear in the deep sleep state, do they? They don't. They are not there. That is the proof that in me they don't exist. In my real identity, they don't exist. These things are spoken only for one reason, to understand the soul properly. We misunderstand the soul because identification with the body has started from a long time ago. And it is going on. In Sushupti state, you are able to stay without any emotions. Envy, anger, lust, greed or any such thing. And it is not there in me, but it is there in the mind. It is there in the mind. So any emotions or any weaknesses, it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind, not in me. Because it's not there in the Sushupti state, isn't it? So, in dream state as well as the Jagrad state or wakened state, when the mind wakes up, all these things comes up within the mind. Therefore, they all belong to the mind, not to me. This is the way Upanishads puts it. Upanishads are saying, all these weaknesses, what we are talking about, my problem, my problem, my problem, we keep saying this. That is because when you have no realization of the self, you will identify with the mind and you start thinking that all these weaknesses are in me. We say like that, isn't it? It is my weakness, we say sometimes. That's my weakness. But Shastra is telling us through this Jagrad Sapna Sushupti that weaknesses are in the mind, not in you. And it is a part of all the emotions are a part of the mind. All the weaknesses are a part of the mind. Why? Because when I go into the deep sleep state, none of them are there. And my presence in the deep sleep state is my pure identity. Nitya Shuddha Buddhamukta Swarupam is in the deep sleep state, not in the vacant state. So, my personal Shastra says here that by nature I am very pure, untouched by any of these things. So, once we know this Tattvam, when we know that any emotions comes up in the mind, we know it is not mine and you will be able to see it as though it's happening in a screen. It's happening in a screen or watching in a TV. So many things are happening inside, but none of them is my identity. Because it is not there in the Sushupti state. Some time ago it wasn't there, and after a while it goes away. But it was there for some time. My nature is Nitya Shuddha Buddhamukta Svabhavam or Suryupam. Akashaval Nirmala Vastu, like the sky, pure sky which is untouched by the clouds or the dust in a similar way. So here, this independent nature or nature of the soul, when it is discussed in the Satsangam, and if we keep on working on this principle, we will come to know that this liberation is also something what is already there. That is why when Krishna mentions in the Bhagavatam, do you remember this? That what he is saying, Bandho Mukti Nirvyakhyam Gunado Mena Vastuda Gunasyamayam Ulatu Alpame Mokshona Bandhanam. Bondage and liberation is not for the soul. We all say like, so I have to go back to God. We keep saying this, isn't it? But actually, and the same Krishna is saying there is no such thing bondage or liberation for the soul. It's all within this
cycle of Maya and the mind. In the Maya and the mind, all these things are happening. So those who have faith in the Shastra, those who can accept Krishna's instructions seriously, Krishna is saying, immediately, instantaneously, you have liberation, provided we accept it. Acceptance is more important than believing. When you accept, the power of acceptance is so strong. Shastra keeps on repeating the same message to us again and again and again. What is that? Our identity is pure. We are eternally liberated. We are not bound. No bondage in us. And it is always fully conscious. And consciousness is Brahman. Prajnanam Brahman. Our identity is Brahman. All this is there, but we keep on waiting till that has to happen within us. So that is why it mentions here that mukti or liberation happens instantaneously at that point. So we'll stop for a few minutes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we saw there before that liberation is a state which is presenting everybody all the time. Liberation is a part of the way we have been created. But due to avidya inside, jnanam inside, it is covered by the ignorance, and therefore, Shruti says to us, Veda's instruction is that in the words of the Shruti, if one has faith in there, mukti is available there immediately. It is there. Yoga Kshema Dhurandarasya Sagala Shreya Pradodyogino Drishta Adrishta Madobadesha Kudino Bahi Andara Vyabina Sarvajnasya Dayakarasya Bhavada Kim Vedidavyam Maya Shambho Tum Paramandaranga Idime Chitte Smaram Anvaham. So, devotees when they pray, this is only Shivananda having these words, it says there that Shambhotum Paramandaranga Itive Chitte Smaranyanmoham. Simply by realizing this truth inside, one immediately gets released from the all other ignorance that goes away. How is it happen? It mentions like this, that Krishna is available to everybody inside as the soul, isn't it? It's not something you have to go and get it from outside. This understanding that Krishna's presence within every living entity, Krishna's presence, we have to be very conscious of this fact. Upanishad says to us like this, that
no weaknesses in a person or no faults in a person can touch the soul. Soul is Krishna's presence within everybody. Now, or any impurities can happen to the soul. Soul is not affected by any of this. And so, in the Upanishads, how it is spoken is that knowing this tattva, that I am not impure, conditioned, or I am not affected by any of the impact of this world. For example, like any of these emotions like lust, anger, greed, or envy and things like that, or any of the influences from the world can have any impact on me. That is the first thing. Knowing that at the same time, what is going through this body at the moment, whatever suffering or misery, what it's experiencing in the moment, due to prarabdha. Prarabdha means the karma that has fructified now, previous karma that has fructified now. But due to the effect of the prarabdha, whatever misery is experienced at the moment and what this body is going through, accepting that, and at the same time to be always conscious that inside the soul who is present is unaffected by any of these things, and to remain like that is called asparsha yoga. Asparsha yoga means untouched yoga. Yoga asparsha means, this is spoken by Gaudavadacharya. Gaudavadacharya says like this, that one who knows the secret behind it. You know, Gaudavadacharya was a famous personality who wrote his commentary on Brihadaranya Upanishad, known as Mandukya Karika, it's called. And that in Mandukya Upanishad also he has written a famous commentary, very highly elevated Vedanta knowledge in those Upanishads commentaries particularly. So Gaudavada mentions there, this one who knows this secret, that means the secret of this yoga system, what is that? That I am the person inside is untouched by anything in this world. Normally we identify with the mind very easily, is it not? When we get angry, we think, oh, I got angry. Remember yesterday we were discussing the same thing. That, or the activities of the mind, or the needs of the prana, life air inside, or the demands of the body. All these things makes us to identify with the body or the prana or the mind. When the body becomes dirty, or when the body starts moving from one place to another, we say that I am moving, which means you are identified with the body. When the body gets dirty by say any means, it got dirty, you say I got dirty. You say. Similarly, any emotions happens in the mind, anger or greed or envy. Anything happens, I will say, oh, I got very greedy. Immediately you can see on a subtle level how you, the spirit soul, has left that identity and identified with the emotion. Is that not true? That's what happens, isn't it? You identify with the emotion straight away. Similarly, the hunger and thirst is nothing but an activity of the prana, the life air in the body. That's what he's asking for. But as soon as you get hungry, what do you say? I'm hungry now. That means you are identifying with the urge of the prana surge. So, Gaudavada mentions this. When one knows that he is not getting hungry, he is not getting thirsty, he is not getting angry, he is not getting greedy, he is not getting envious, he is not getting any way affected by either body, mind or the prana or life air. When none of these things are affecting him, and he is able to stay above that and identifies himself with the soul, that is called untouched yoga system. Or what he calls it as asparsha yoga. In that state, he says, when he is untouched by anything, any work he does in this world, any transactions in this world, and even if he engages in war due to prarabdha, if he has to do that, he will not be affected by that. He will not be affected by that. Krishna mentions that in the Bhagavad Gita. If you look in the 18th chapter, verse 17, what Krishna says there. So, that is what is the same thing here also you will see. The 17th verse. Shraddhaya Paraya Tattam Tapastat Trividham Nare Abhalangakshivar Yukte Satvigam Parichakshate. Shraddhaya Paraya Tattam Tapastat Trividham Nare Abhalangakshivar Yukte Satvigam Parichakshate. This threefold austerity, Krishna is saying there, talking about he's talking about austerity in the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. That is what that is called.
Which?
18th chapter. Chapter 18, verse 17. Sorry. Chapter 18, verse 17. Got the wrong. What is 17?
Yes.
Yasyana Hangaro Bhava. Yeah, 17. Yasyana 18, 17. Chapter 18, verse 17. Yasyana Hangaro Bhava Buddhir Yasyana Lipyate Hatva Visa Imam Lokam Nahanti Na Nibhadyate. Yeah. So, Yasya Na Ahankrado Bhava Buddhir Yasya Na Lipyate Hatvavi sa iman lokan nahanti nibhadyate. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, is not the slayer, nor is he bound by his actions. That's the same thing what Krishna is talking about. But in order to do that, first you have to come to that state. Then, if we have to kill someone, Krishna is saying he is not affected by that. It's a very profound statement, isn't it? When you think about it. Krishna is saying there that Yasyana Ahankruto Bhava. Ahankruto Bhava means false ego. That, you see, Kartrutva Bhoktrutvam. I am the doer and I am the enjoyer. Ragam Dvesham. These four things is what is binding us in this world. Is it not? So, out of this Raga Dvesham, Krishna has spoken strongly in the second chapter. And in the Karma Yogam, the 6 chapters, from the on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, is all in reference to Kartrutvam and Bhoktrutvam. How to free yourself from that. That's what that 4 or 5 chapters through Karma Yogam process. So, while explaining that, Krishna is mentioning there, Na kartrutvam na bhoktrutvam va. I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer. Eventually, what will happen is, Krishna is coming to this 18th chapter. Krishna will mention earlier also that we have to go through it in detail in that chapter. Yasya na ahankruto bhava. What is this ahankruto bhava? Ahankruto bhava means this: I am the doer. I am the doer. And where is that coming from? It's coming from the false ego. False ego generates that feeling: I am the doer. Isn't it? So, whose intelligence is not entangled? Now, Buddhir Yasya na Lipyate. Buddhir Yasya na Lipyate means that his intelligence is not polluted. Because one who thinks he is not the doer, he is a man with pure intelligence. Or one who thinks that he is not touched by the effects of the ego. His activities are pure. That is how Krishna sees that. One who thinks, one whose activities are not touched by false ego, his activities are pure. His activities are pure. So Krishna is saying here, Buddhir Yasyana Lipyate, Hatva Visa Imam Lokam, that even if he kills someone, Nahanti na Nibhadyate, he doesn't have to go through the... now, it is on the strength of this verse that Krishna has told Arjuna to kill him. Because why Krishna was smiling after Mahabharat war, 6.4 million people died, and Krishna was still smiling, isn't it? Why? Because of this. That is the difference between Krishna and us. In Krishna, it is 100% in this way. And in us, it is just the opposite. Is it not? That's why remember when Shukra Brahmarshi was asked by Parikshit that question, that Krishna has danced with his married women, gopis. And was that proper for Krishna to do that? This is the answer for that. There is no false ego there. that I am doing that in Krishna. I am doing that. That ego has completely gone away. Therefore, Krishna is saying here, na handi na nibadyate. Therefore, Krishna is not bound by the actions, by his actions. Always people ask this question, isn't it? Some people say Krishna is a warmonger. He created the war, they say. Some people say Krishna was immoral. So we can't accept Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead or absolute truth. That is their answer to that. Because they don't understand what Bhagavad Gita is talking about. When you don't know the subtleties of the way the soul functions inside, and when Krishna is explaining this in this 18th chapter, the last chapter, that Attvavisa imam lokam nahanti na nipadyate. It is this word that is the strength behind Arjuna. After hearing this, he was ready to fight. Because Krishna is telling him that it is a false ego that is actually causing you the problem, not the soul. Soul is never affected by anything, any of these things. And Krishna is giving that Arjuna guarantee. Arjuna, if the false ego is not there, if he is done for me, as Krishna says, it's done for me. In other words, what it means is purely on the spiritual platform. If it is executed, that activity, karma, has no bondage. That is the principle behind it. So, yasya nahangrado bhavo buddhara yasya nalipyade hattvabisa imam lokam nahandi nanipadyate. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, is not the slayer, nor is he bound by his actions. So, in order to engage in such activity, one has to be completely free from the false ego. Otherwise, it will have its reactions on us. So there you can see the person is not touched by the action, isn't it? Action is not touching the person. And if somebody who is in that yoga state, that is what Gaudapada says there in the Karika, he says there, this is called Asparsha Yoga. Asparsha Yoga means he is not touched by the karma what he is performing in this world. Karma has no impact on the person. So, he mentions here, sometimes this is always an issue in spiritual life. People experience a lot of distress in life, isn't it? Many times in different ways. So, once it so happened during when the British ruled India, there was a lot of the independence movement started, and there were many leaders who were encouraging young people to join the independence movement. Spiritually advanced personalities, they were not very concerned about it. Whether British ruled India or somebody else ruled India, they didn't bother what was going on. They were busy with their spiritual life. So one Brahmana boy, it so happened that he got inspired by some powerful speaker who spoke about the importance of getting independence and driving the British away from India and all that. A lot of fiery speeches were made at that time. And inspired by all that, this Brahmana boy, he took a gun in his hand, and in his fiery mood, he went and killed some 2 British soldiers at that time. He shot them and killed them. And then, before they could capture him, he escaped from there. And then he knew that afterwards he realized that what he did was totally wrong thing to do, because it's not approved by any of the Shastram in any way to fight in this way, killing people without any proper justification, right? So in those days what used to happen was, when people have done some severe crime like that, they'll go and take shelter of some ashram. They'll go, because their chances of police searching after you is very little, isn't it? Because people think that ashram is a safe haven for such people. So he wandered around in many of the ashrams in Rishikesh and Haridwar and all that. And eventually he ended up in one ashram like that. And that sannyasi who was present there, he understood the problem, what he was going through. In his inside he had this big crisis that he has done something seriously wrong, which he should not have done. having done that. Now it's too late. Now things have been done, has happened. So he asked this question to them that I have done this serious crime. I escaped from the police, he said. But my guilt inside, I feel terrible about it. That was his statement. Because he had that conscience, but he didn't know what to do about it, how to escape from that. So he went up to this sannyasi who was present there. So he asked him, what should I do? Is there any way what I can do? What shall I do to escape from this? Because that feeling of guilt inside, guilty consciousness inside, he said this to him. So this sannyasi told him that if you were able to give up this consciousness in you, your conviction that you have done it, if you have given up that from that idea that you are the one who has done it, then you are free, he said to him. That's the only thing you can do now. First of all, you should have done it, but it has happened now. Somehow it has happened. Why I'm saying this is that important it is to free oneself from the identification with the karma, what we do. Otherwise there is no hope, there is no possibility. Kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam, two things. Kartrutvam, I am the doer, and bhoktrutvam, I am the one who has done it, the result of that. Both of them very difficult to give it. That's why Krishna is saying there that what is the reason, who can say this, what's the reason behind it? This statement from Krishna. Nahandina nanibhadyate. Krishna is saying there. On the strength of that, this sannyasi told this young man that if you can give up. Later on what happened? This young man took spiritual life very seriously because of this incident, and he became a very great personality, a great yogi afterwards. He spent the rest of his life in the Himalayas. All his rest of his time was spent in the Himalayas, and he became a great yogi as well, and he was well known since then. But this was in his history. Afterwards, India became independent, case was all thrown and all that. But he mentions this incident in his own memories, what he mentioned to some others, and it came out later on in this way. So important is that verse, that as long as the false ego is there in any action, that action will bind us. If one can operate in this world without any false ego, no action can bind us here. Because the self is free from any bondage all time. This bondage and liberation and all is in relationship with the subtle body. It's in relationship with the subtle body. So later on he became a very famous personality in Rishikesh and lived there. Because once the kartrutvam goes away, then if the kartrutvam goes away, that does not mean that using this principle you can go and do anything you like. That's not what it means. What it is saying here is that once that kartrutvam, that ownership, doership goes away from a person, then he cannot do any bad thing independently. That's the thing. That's what will happen. See this, I am the doer. In the Bhagavad Gita also you will see this. Krishna says there, isn't it? The four sutram of Karma Yoga. What are they? Krishna says there that the Karmani va adhikaraste na ma bhaleshu kadachana ma bhedu ma karma bhaleshu ma de sangosto karmani. The four sutram. Out of that four sutrams, the third one, ma karma bhaleshu, Krishna is saying, karma bhalam or result of karma you have no right to ask for. Similarly, karma, you have got the authority, you have got the freedom to do the karma. Karmani va adhikaraste ma bhaleshu kathachana ma karma balahe darbho ma de sangosto karmani. Isn't it? Akarmanyam is not possible, is not allowed. But while that four sutram is followed in the Karma Yoga, the final result of all that is it must end up in getting freedom from the kartrutva or the doership. If you are not getting that freedom from the doership, your Karma Yoga is not perfect, in other words. So Karma Yoga has to lead into freedom from the kartrutva. Kartrutvam va bhoktrutvam. It said both Karma Yoga has the benefit from that. So without kartrutvam, you can't do anything. The reason for that is Once you have come to that stage, if you have come to that stage that you are doing your karma without any kartrutvam, in that case you are actually nothing but an instrument in Krishna's hands. You are practically an instrument in Krishna's hands at that time. So therefore, kartrutvam, because he will not have any independent desire afterwards, any independent desire. So only when you have an independent desire, you will act whimsically. Is it not? We act whimsically because if you have an independent desire. So therefore, kartrutva nasham or destruction of this kartrutva, I am the doer, is liberation. Is liberation. So this ajnana, avidya inside, karta, bhokta, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. When that is taken away from inside, what happens? That's called liberation, and it is in that state Krishna is the karta and Krishna is the bhokta. Krishna is the doer and Krishna is the enjoyer. I have no kartrutvam. And that experience inside is realization. So in order for this to happen, one has to engage in what is known as Atma Vicharam. Atma Vicharam means constant reflection on the Karma Yoga. You remember when we discussed this in the 12th chapter Bhakti also, Krishna talks about that, isn't it? Krishna talks about Dhyanam there. In that Dhyanam, what is the subject that is to be made, subject for meditation is about Karma Yoga. That how to engage in activities in such a way that karma will not pollute you anymore. Once that means surrender. That means surrender to Krishna. Everything Krishna is doing it, I am not the doer anymore. Everything is happening. Body is only an instrument. Krishna is working through this body. Is it not? So that principle with the Karma Yoga, if you read, you can see that kartrutva, bhoktrutva, when it goes away from inside a person, then the inquiry, only after that, this inquiry will come, who am I? That inquiry will come into a person. So, what is my identity? At this point in time, we are identifying with this body, which is made of all the impure substances. Is it not? So, this cannot be our identity. These impure substances which has made this body. So, that is why, actually, this realization must happen as early as possible in life, not as late in the life. Who mentions this? Prahlada says this. How does he say? Kaumara acharye prajna dharmam bhagavadaniha durlabham manusham jannam tadapyam dhruvarthadam yada hi purushasyeha vishnu padobasarpanam. If you look into the 7th canto, that is in the Prahlada teaching the boys, his classmates or who are with him in the 6th chapter, Prahlada's instructions to their friends. He says, Prahlada Vacham, he says, Kaumarajre prajno dharman bhagavadaniha nurlabham anisham jannam tadapya dhruvarthadam. One who is proper knowledge, he should begin this practice from the early life, not later, because human life is rare and very temporary. Yada hi purushasyeha vishnu padova sarpanam yadesha sarva bhudanam priya almeshwara sukhat. Prahlada says there that the only thing one has to do early in the life itself is to take Krishna shelter, because Krishna is the soul of everybody. Priya, Alma, Ishvara, Sukhat. He says. He is the one who is very near to everyone. He is the soul of everybody. He is the controller and he is the friend. And like that you can see from that word onwards, Prahlada's teaching goes into a long way, right up to the 28th verse. He talks, these 28 verses are very important in the Bhagavatam, because through that Prahlada is talking about his own realizations to his friends. And that is where he mentioned that if you look at the 19th verse, you will see Nahachudam Prinayato Bhagvayaso Asuralatmajaha Atmatval Sarvabhudanam Siddhatval Ikasarvada. He says to the boys who are with him, he says, pleasing Krishna is not a very difficult thing. He says, Nahi Achudam Prinayato Bhagvayasam. It doesn't require a lot of effort. Asuralatmaja, or son of the demons, he says. Why? Atmatval Sarvabhudanam. Krishna is present in everyone as the soul. Siddhatval Ikasarvada. he is already available to everyone. It doesn't require any external effort. Only recognizing this, that Krishna is present inside. That's all what is required. That's what Prahlada is saying to them. So you can see here that Prahlada at such an early age, this realization had come to him. And we are still struggling with, battling about this, that is there a soul inside the body? Is Krishna present inside? Looking for Krishna everywhere else in the world. All this is nothing but a symptom of that avidya inside. How deeper that avidya inside is indication of that. That Prahlada at such an early age, he mentions many things there. So, Nahyachudam Vrinayedo Bhagavayaso Asural Praja Almatwal Sarvabhudanam Siddhatwal Ihasarvala. Then if you go further down 22 Pratyagalma Sarubena Drisharubena Jaswayam Vyapya Anirdesho Avigalpidaha Kevalani Bhavananda Surupa Parameshwara Maya Andarhita Ishwarya Iyade Gunasargaya. So, if you read through that translation of those verses, you will see there talking about Krishna. Who is Krishna? And that is the way to understand Krishna. That Krishna is Pratyagalpa Sarubena Drisharubena Jaswayam. He is inside every one of us, Drishyam and Drashtav. In other words, he is seeing everything, he is the seer. And he is the seen as well. Drishyam and Drashtav is both him. You see, Pratyagatma Surubena, Drishyarubena Jaswayam, Vyapyam Avyavagam, Vyapyam Vyavaga Anirdesho Avigalpidaha. That verse 32. And he mentions there that due to the influence of Maya, he covers his identity. Krishna is covering his identity. Although he has done the creation has come from him. Through the power of Maya, he keeps himself away from me. Why don't we see Krishna in the creation? Because of the presence of Maya has covered Krishna in front of us from the creation. And he is the person who is seeing the creation. We say we are seeing the creation. Who is seeing the creation? Krishna is seeing the creation through our senses. The creation also has come from Krishna. Krishna is created, Krishna is seeing this, and what he sees is also Krishna's another expansion. That is what it says. Pratyagalpa means when Krishna is present inside and when he is functioning through our senses, he is called Pratyagalpa. Pratyagalpa is called. Like in Bhagavatam, in several places, the same soul is given several identities, isn't it? If you look into Muchukunda's prayers, how was he addressed there? If you look into 10th canto, 51st chapter, Muchukunda says, for here he calls it as Pratyagalpa Sarupam. But in the Muchukunda's prayers, you will see that he mentions there, Muchukunda says that Vimohinoyam Janaishamayam, in there he will mention Bhavavargo, that Karodi Karmani, Tapastu Nishtiro, Nivurtavo, Tadavekshe Adar, Punaschabhuye Mahamsuradi. There he mentioned, Tuam Yati, 57th verse, Tasman Visrujya Shishamisha Sarvado, Rajastama Sattva Nibandhana, Niranjanam Durgunam Advayam Param, Tuam Yati Matram Purusham Rajamyaham. So there, Mujukunda calls the soul inside as Nyapti. Prahlada calls it as Pratyagalpa. Vasudeva calls it as Kevalana Bhavananda Surupam. So the same soul in different functions is addressed in different ways. Remember, we mentioned earlier also, when it is under the modes of material nature, he is called Vishwam. Vishwam, Tejasa, Prajna. Depending on Sattvam, Rajasa, Tamasa, Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushupti, 3 states, he is addressed in 3 different ways. The entity is the same, but addressed in different ways. Tvam yanti matram purusham rajamyaham. It mentions there. Why is he called yanti there? Because there, in this Bhujagunda's prayers, when he is addressing Krishna, he is saying to him You are free from the influence of the three modes of material nature. Apart from that, you are knowledge personified. Yakti is that. Awareness. Awareness personified. Consciousness, in other words. That is what you are. So, Muchukunda is seeing Krishna one way. Prahlada is seeing Krishna in another way. But if you look at both of them, you will see one thing. Here he is saying, Pratyagata Swarupena Drishyarupena Jaswayam. While addressing Krishna as the soul present inside, who is seeing the creation, Drishka Drishyam in that relationship, therefore he is addressed as Pratyagatma. There, Muchukunda is addressing Krishna in relationship with the knowledge. He is knowledge personified, he says there. So that is how that explanation has come from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, therefore, Prahlada says, this realization should happen in a person as early as possible in life. The earlier, the best. Because if that happens, the Kaumara Acharya Prajna, he says, you should not wait for, at the old age I will take up spiritual life. It's not going to happen. It's too late. Because the Shraddha what is required in realizing this, if it is dissipating in all other things, then you may not have that Shraddha for spiritual life. That is the problem with that. That's why he mentions there. Vidyaranya Swamiji mentions in his Panchadashi, he says here, Vardhake, and many other acharyas also mentions there, Vardhake Munimuktinam. That is a common statement. In other words, old age for Krishna consciousness. Old age for Krishna consciousness. And now, not in the childhood, not in the boyhood, youth, but now what's happening? Not in the old age either. Not in the old age either. That is why Ajay Swamiji mentions in that 7th verse, if you look, Balastaval Krida Saktaha, Tarunastaval Karuni Saktaha, Vruddhastaval Chinta Saktaha, Pare Brahmani Kopina Saktaha, Balastaval Krida Saktaha, Tarunastaval Karuni Saktaha, Vruddhastaval Chinta Saktaha, Pare Brahmani Kopina Saktaha. Ajay Swamiji is beating his chest and telling us that all the childhood is wasted in playing. Childhood, that is the greatest happiness, is play, play, play. Unlimited playing. Never satisfied with playing. Valastaval Kridasaktaha. Then in the youth, attraction to the opposite. Man to woman and woman to the man. This attraction grows. So, Tarunastaval Taruni Saktaha. And in the old age, what happens? Vruddhastaval Chinta Saktaha. Thinking of all the great activities he has done in his life. That's all about the old age. I've done this in my life, and I was doing this happened, and if I was not there, what would have happened? Like this, all the big positions I held in this world, big management or big authority or position, whatever we had, and talking about all that and reflecting on that. This is Vruddhastaval Chinta Sakta. Chinta, thought of one after the other, thoughts coming through of all our great deeds, what we did in the past. And then he says, Pare Brahmani Kopina Saktaha. Absolutely no sign of any attachment of realizing the truth. Towards Brahman. Attention is never turning towards the truth. What can be done? He is asking. He says that is the problem. He says. So, Prahlada explained that in a much nicer way in Bhagavatam. Prahlada says here that if you remember, you look in Prahlada, he says, out of the 100 years in a man's life, because 100 is the lifespan for this age, as they say, 50 years goes in sleeping. Some people even more than that. So, and out of the 24 hours available, he says there, some people sleep 8, 9, 10 hours, I don't know how many. And so you can see that the major part of our life has gone in sleep, isn't it? Gone in sleep. And you can take sleep also you have to take it very seriously, because even though you may have 100 years life, when you have children, most of the time what do? You sleep, isn't it? There it's not you're sleeping 8 hours. You're sleeping 10, 15, 20 hours sometimes. So the first few years you sleep so many hours. So if you take the overall life, 100 years, a very big portion of that gone into sleep. If you take it into account when you were a little boy or girl, how many hours you have slept, if you take all that into account. And similarly, that a lot of time in the old age also goes into sleeping, a kind of a half sleep, half dream state. It goes like that. And the youth is spent in working and earning money. Earning money and all the other sense gratification allowed to that. So he says here, in the old age, your lifetime, the time will be spent in thinking about what you have done in your youth and in your childhood and everything. So, all useless things, in other words. So, and all the great wonders what he has done in his working life in this world, how many jobs he has performed and things like that. So, therefore, even in the old age, that thought is not coming to him about self-realization. In other words, it is not happening in him. So, that is why he mentions like that, and that we will discuss it